Good evening. Today is August 30th. I'd like to convene the Reading Select Board. We have Carlo Bacci remotely, and Jackie McCarthy, and Chris Haley, and Karen Herrick in person. Tonight's meeting is being recorded on RCTV Live on Comcast Channel 22 or Verizon Channel 33. The videographer for tonight's meeting is Rob, and you can check out www.rctv.org for more information and for replay times. We have a very packed agenda this evening. Before we commence, though, we have a couple of very special visitors. Officers Rusty and Cooper are here to visit, and we would like to pause on the rest of the agenda so that we can hear what they have to say.
All right. Thank you for taking some time tonight. I know it's a great opportunity to meet Cooper and Rusty. They are Matt Thatcher, school resource officer, used to be our most popular police officer in Reading. He's now number 3 behind Cooper and Rusty. As you know, the school resource officers last year, in conjunction with support from the town manager, Fidel, and the superintendent, we were able to bring the Comfort Dog program into Reading, and we gave them to the school resource officers. It's been a enormous success. It's done exactly what we wanted to do. For school-wise, we probably have 2 of the best school resource officers in the Commonwealth anyway. They've done a tremendous job of breaking down barriers, interacting with the students, working with staff. The Comfort Dogs has just brought it to a whole nother level where they've been able to really, kids, Brian, if I'm speaking out of line, please correct me, but Brian's been up to high school, going to 6th year now?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, okay.
Sounds about right.
And he interacts great with the students, gets along well with the staff. Bringing Cooper in has gotten the last group of students that normally wouldn't talk to school resource officers now coming to him. It has broken down those barriers, and now Brian has students that even if Cooper's not there, come in and talk to him, high five him, and it's done exactly what we wanted to do. We've also, when we had to evacuate 75 Pearl Street, we brought the Comfort Dogs down. The seniors, while they're waiting to get evacuated, got to play with the dogs, pet them. It calms everybody down. That's exactly what we're hoping to do, and the program is working exactly as we wanted. So for those of you who haven't met, this is Officer Brian Lewis. He's assigned up at the high school. This is Officer Matt Thatcher, who does the elementary and the middle schools, and Cooper and Rusty. They're meant to be pet. As long as you don't mind a little drool on you, please come out and meet them, but we'd love to have you come up. So maybe we can have Cooper come up. Meet everybody. And they're getting ready for their first day of school tomorrow.
Cooper got his high school ID photo.
Oh, did he? Okay, good.
Buddy?
It's a little drooly.
That's
Some
okay.
treats here
I'm
for
an
you.
equestrian. I'm usually sneezed on. Certainly have grown.
Yeah, how old, Maddie? How much is Rusty weigh now?
He's 70. He's over 70. Yeah, probably.
So he's
6
6 months at 70 pounds, and he's probably like 75 pounds at 7 months.
We'd love to get a picture of all you together with the dog, if that's okay. I don't know if they're gonna.
We can put
Put on
Friday.
I know they're very happy to play with each other. They've become best friends, so.
treats. So I think
Okay,
As long
we'll
as
try
you
it.
have stinky treats.
You guys wanna go in the middle here and then the dogs on the outside?
You, sir.
Thank you, sir. Chief?
Yeah, keep up in the middle,
Yeah.
I'll take a pic for you.
I might go down.
Okay.
As close as he's coming.
She said, no looking at the dog. Makes all the pictures look funny.
Oh, he's not going to participate.
Sorry. Nope, you're fine.
Please go, please go.
Okay, ready, 1, 2. That's okay, they will give you kisses. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Very good, boys.
It's really good to see them at town meeting. Those are long nights.
Yes. We did have them in the April town meeting at the opening night outside people that meeting, which was
I
great.
did get like 2 seconds with them. They were very popular. That's great. I'm glad they're not overwhelmed by all the attention.
No, they've been.
That's a good thing.
They're in for a bit of a shock tomorrow when school starts. I think.
What are all these kids?
Your Prozac works really well. For animals too. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So nice to meet you both and see these guys again.
Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
Good luck
Appreciate the
tomorrow.
time.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, no, you guys go play with Cooper in a minute. I don't have snacks, but he does. Well, right ahead. All right, thank you.
Thanks, all right. Okay, so a quick overview of tonight's
Thanks,
meeting.
guys.
We will start off with public comment. We will then follow up with select board liaison and town manager reports. We will then have a further report, the Reading Police Department staff report. We will discuss resolution for former select board member Sally Hoyt. And we will have a proclamation. At 7:50, we will discuss proposed changes to the town personnel policy. At 8:15, we will talk about the great news that we'll be able to approve hiring a treasurer. And at 8:20, housing production plan discussion. At 8:30, discuss FY 2024 capital plan and processes. 8:40, discussion on proposed polystyrene bylaw from the Reading, with support from the Reading Climate Committee. 9:00, we will have a discussion about the town manager 6-month priorities, feedback, and performance. 9:20, we were scheduled to discuss follow-up on summer select board retreat and schedule fall retreat. 9:30, we have a VASC report, VASC committee report, and we will vote on volunteer appointments. At 9:40, discuss the town master plan. At 9:45, discuss upcoming state legislative visit. 9:50, discuss future agenda items, and 10:00, I'm not sure if we have meeting minutes to review because I didn't see them in the packet, so we might not need that. And with that topic, so since we are missing the chair this evening, and there were 2 items that I would like to propose that we maybe address briefly, but hold off on a more thorough discussion till he can join us. Specifically, the FY 24 capital plan and process. You probably have some questions from looking at it, I know I do, but I'd rather, Mark has some great ideas about how we could do the process going forward, so I suggest that we schedule that discussion at a later date. And same with the summer select board retreat and scheduled fall retreat follow-up. If that's okay with everybody else, we can just postpone that until Mark's able to join us. Okay, so we can jump right into select board liaison reports. Who would like to go first?
I think it was public comment.
Oh, sorry, correct. Public comment. Do we have anyone online or here who would like to make a public comment? Okay, none here in the room. Fidel, it's Caitlin. Hi, Caitlin. Is there anyone online?
No, there's not.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Okay, would you like to go first with your liaison report?
Sure. Thanks, Karen. So I was able to attend the school committee meeting yesterday, the last one before school starts tomorrow. So just make sure everyone's going 20 on Birch Meadow Drive instead of 40 like typically everyone does. And the good news from that is there was at least 11 new hires that the schools have hired between Metco, new principals, et cetera. So it was good to see all of them there, and the atmosphere and everything, including the video that they released today with all the staff and whatnot, just shows that, putting in the effort even before school starts. So it's good to see that. And then the other big thing is the Fall Street Fair is coming up on September 11th. So this time around, we're going to be doing the dunk tank to support the Reading Rotary and one of the owners from Rough and Ready Dog Grooming that suffered a setback earlier this year. So the proceeds will be split between the two, and then 1 ball is $2, 3 balls is $5, or auto dunk is $20. So
Was it an auto dunk? I didn't know that.
it's an auto, yeah, $20. I gave Autumn 20 last year from Mark. So, so in the tank this time around, is Fidel, our new town manager, Dr. Milichevsky, superintendent of schools, Kevin Tracy, the Reading Memorial High School principal, Katie Buckley, Reading Memorial High School assistant principal, Rochelle Rubino, Parker Middle School principal, Jay Pledge from Parker Middle School, the assistant principal, and then from the select board, it's Carlo Bacci, Mark Doxer, myself, Jackie McCarthy, and then school committee is Tom Wise. And then collecting balls is going to be Carla Nazaro from the school committee, Jess Callahan, she's the RMHS Director of Academic Achievement now, and Jess Thoreau, the RMHS Assistant Principal. So if anyone would like to still donate some time to the Fall Street Fair or the dunk tank itself, you can go to dunkthereddings.com, and I have a link at the bottom that will redirect you to the Sign Up Genius for that event. So like I mentioned yesterday at the school committee thing, you're not going to be able to see North Reading superintendent getting dunked on September 11th, same thing with their town manager. So it's good to see all these participants. Last year we raised $13.26, and then someone anonymously made it $2,000. So I'd like to think with this lineup that we have here, it's going to be, hit out of the park compared to last year. So we'll see how it goes, and that's all I got. Thank you.
Jackie, Carlo?
I'll go, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll go. Thanks. Can I just ask Chris a quick question first?
Sure.
Chris, last night at the school committee, did they vote on the naming of the track with Halcroft?
I'm not sure, I left halfway through, so.
They did vote.
I missed that spot. I missed that as well, but I can't imagine that it wasn't, yes.
They voted 5-0 if I recall correctly.
Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that because I had a meeting with the naming committee with Chuck, Carl, and John Means, and I forget the woman's name, I apologize. And, we discussed proposing that, and the school committee needs to vote, so I'm glad that went forward. And then last week, Greg, myself, Bob Coulter, and the Barbaros family met, had an informal meeting discussing their properties in the back of RMLD, our interest in continuing the relationship. Obviously expressed interest if they ever wanted to sell the building. No one knew if we had anything in writing, but he said if we ever decided that, if it's not in writing, you would be the first people we would talk to. And we just discussed, it was a brief meeting, we just discussed potential future plans of RMLD, structurally the buildings potentially going up, and stuff like that. It was a good meeting, and I think we're having another meeting, and the family was invited, but I don't know if they'll attend, but I know we're having a meeting with RMLD before one of our next meetings. And so that was a good meeting, first time I met them, and it was very productive. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Yeah. Echo Chris's sentiment tomorrow. Hope everyone has a great first day, and hopefully people show some patience getting to and from tomorrow, taking a little extra time. And thanks so much to our staff, administrators, teachers, public safety. Also, early voting is underway at Town Hall for the primaries on Tuesday, September 6th. So thank you to Town Hall staff for those hours. Those are on the website for town. Also, just looking ahead, on Monday, September 12th, the CPDC will hear a bit more about the proposals for the Oakland Road property, and so I encourage folks to attend that either in person or remotely. We've started to hear a bit from the neighborhood there, and just in terms of some board and committee liaison reports, attended the finance committee a couple weeks ago. They also started discussing the 2024 capital plan. And I know we've got financial forums scheduled in September and October, so we look forward to that. Also, I attended a Mass Municipal Association recap of the state legislative session. For me, there were a number of helpful items to understand. Sometimes it's it's a bit difficult to understand what comes out of Beacon Hill and what's still there. For me, one of the most interesting recaps was that the Baker administration finalized the transit-oriented development amendments or MBTA communities. So I think the good news for Reading is that we've been reclassified from a bus community to now a commuter rail community.
Yay!
And I know our planning staff is hard at work in understanding kind of what that means. But it was a good resource in any event. Also, I attended the first housing production plan working group meeting last week. I know we're gonna hear more from staff about that, but that's, you know, part of some of our requirements to the state. And we'll be hearing more about some of the first steps there, which involves a survey of our neighbors' housing situations, living situations, and housing views of the housing market, which is certainly something that we talk about a lot just among neighbors and family members. And I think that is it.
Terrific, thanks. Kudos to staff for getting that done. I didn't know if that would take a couple months or a couple years, so that's wonderful. The implication of that is that we should have to, under the new legislation, be accountable for less density near the train, correct?
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, I guess we had two school committee meetings since our last meeting. The earlier one that I attended, I understand that the schools were able to hire a new food service manager from Brookline, and this is exciting because this person, her name is, I believe her writing only person, which is a change in policy. We used to share our food service director. Her name is Sasha Palmer, I believe, and they have eliminated single-use dinnerware in Brookline, where she came from. They've instituted composting. She's developed relationships with farmers. So I'm pretty excited for the students at the schools. Nobody in my house was ever that excited about school food, but I think there's some interesting opportunities coming along down the pike. And so we'll welcome her. I also understand that for those in the community who have the skills and the interest, there's a tremendous need for paraprofessionals and substitutes, not just in Reading, but across the country, but particularly in Reading. Okay, and then Chris, I guess we overlapped. Last night, the Kiln School Building Committee was also on the agenda for the school committee, so we saw the same presentation that our consultant on the school building process presented to the Kiln Building Committee a couple of weeks ago. And let's see, the important parts about that, just making sure that everyone understands the days we have for our eligibility and the Mass School Building Association process and timeline. We're looking at 3.5 years approximately to a new school if we stay on track. And the other thing, you know, the school committee and the building committee are very focused on preparing as much information for town meeting, so that when we go to town meeting with a warrant article to ask for design and schematics funding, before town meeting and during town meeting, everyone feels like they've been educated about the process and the need. And on that note, the school committee has set up September 8th as a day when anyone who hasn't seen Kiln can go in and take a look. And I know I've only seen parts of it, and you are welcomed to do that. I do believe they're gonna be sending out more information, or I'm sure it'll be on the website, but September 8th is the day that Kiln will be open up to town meeting members in particular to go in and just see what we're talking about, physical obsolescence as well as programmatic obsolescence. Okay, track naming committee update, we did that. The other thing we learned is that we're gonna require another $500K for the Parker roof, and that the schools will need $200K for new glycol to keep the high school from freezing. So that's exciting. That's $700,000. Thank you, Mr. Economy. Let's see. Participating in the Reading Climate Advisory Committee, who will hear from a little bit more tonight. We talked about their presentation for the polystyrene ban, and we also talked about updates on green communities. At this point, the Senate has approved legislation which would allow Reading to join green communities, and we can share that. We can share that with the rest of the select board. What it needs to do now, my understanding for Senator Lewis, is that it needs to go back to the House and they just need to accept it as is, and we will be en route and be able to figure out what our next steps will be. So there's that update, and we'll hear from them later. And then finally, I had the opportunity, and Chris was there as well, to speak at the unveiling of the Lafayette Trail marker over in front of the Latham Building. The Reading Historical Commission brought this to my attention a year ago, and they also had a 3-person committee working with our resident Peter McGuire, who's a member of this Lafayette Trail Incorporated. And this is an amazing project, and 2 years from now will be the 200-year anniversary of Lafayette's farewell tour to New England, so we're pretty excited, and you can think about the beer event, or the wine event, probably the French wine event we might want to have on the Common at that time. But, you know, thank you again to the Historical Commission and Peter McGuire and the Lafayette Trail folks, and it was just a wonderful event. We had the Vice Consul from the French Consulate of Boston come in and help us celebrate the relationship between Reading and France, and we had RMHS grads speaking in French to folks there. So it was a great event, and the marker is up in front of Latham now, and you can go and take a look at it. And thank you to the Latham family as well. The reason we have that great building is because they're committed to preserving the character and historic buildings in the town commons, so I thank them. Oh, the final thing is the library hosted Craftism. I think we heard some concerns from one member of the public last time. So I went ahead and went, and so this is what I came out of Craftism with, and it's not completed because I was still reading like the select board packet, which was 200 pages long. So it was a needlepoint. If you call it needlepoint, no one's gonna go. If it's Craftism and it's art and it's led by a very interactive artist, then Caitlin, I was wondering if you could share that picture that I showed you. You attract a very diverse audience across multiple generations. There we are. And then what's neat about that is that I could envision that whatever our senior center solution could be is that suddenly we have somebody besides the library who can host these intergenerational, like this could be one way of thinking about what would a multi-generational senior center look like. And so anyway, it was a great event, and this is really relaxing, and if they start up another one, I'll go again. It was nice to meet folks. Okay, so that's it. Okay. Next. Okay. RPD is up again. Chief Clark. Oh no, wait, sorry, I skipped them. I'm sorry, I skipped them.
I would have been totally fine with that.
I do that all the time, sorry.
That would have been fine with me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Town Manager.
That's okay. I'll be quick. So the press release was officially put out today with the MVP grant award of $2.1 million for the Liaison grant. I also wanted to point out that page 11 of the packet has been requested by the select board in terms of tracking what grants we have obtained and are pursuing. Obviously, grants we've heard from the select board that it's a priority, and it is a priority for our staff too. Also in the packet is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund document that we've been working on. I just wanted to highlight one change. The Reading Housing Authority Board requested that we add someone from the Housing Authority Board onto the 5-member committee. I feel like that will be good alignment in terms of ensuring that we are in sync. So that is it's in your packet, for consideration. Finally, in your packet too is a draft of the articles for November town meeting. There will be at least 2 more articles added. We received a resident petition today with sufficient signatures to put it onto the warrant, and if the select board decides to also add the polystyrene bylaw into town meeting, that would be added as well. That's all I got. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Congratulations, $2.1 million for MVP
Yeah.
in
nice.
Reading.
Very nice.
And it benefits not only Reading, but all of the downstream communities. So yay Reading, yay Fidel, rah.
Yeah, everybody.
I'm very excited, very excited.
Of course. I can hardly.
Okay, so
You're
let me
lucky I'm
share with
sitting
you,
down.
and Jackie's not been with us that long. We don't make those announcements at a select board meeting very often, so, you know, kudos. Congratulations. Okay.
And just a question about that, is there still a piece of that or a phase two that's involved in either the state level economic development legislation or some other legislative vehicle?
So there is a phase two. We have a $1.5 million federal earmark request through Seth Moulton's office, so that has cleared the House, it's cleared the Senate, and we feel pretty good that it is going to be awarded to Reading. So what that means is that if we receive the additional $1.5 million federal earmark, we will not need any of our own money to do the entire project, which would be phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Okay, fingers crossed. Super, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
So, thank you for having us here tonight. Always excited for the opportunity to present what we've been doing out to the town and also the select board, let everybody know what we've been up to. Caitlin, can you share our presentation? I know that Erica McNamara, who's here supporting us, unfortunately I was away on vacation when she gave her presentation. I did watch it afterwards, and she did a fantastic job covering everything, so I'm gonna not talk about the coalition by no means, because but I think they covered everything. I just do wanna say that they've been a great, unbelievable resource for us. The work we do together and having Tanya on board as a mental health clinician, I honestly think Tanya actually undersold the work she's already done. When she first started, we kind of said, once you settle in, sit down, get yourself settled. Yeah, that didn't happen. That lasted about 30 seconds. And she was out there, she was already involved in a hoarding case. She's doing ride-alongs. She's pretty much worked with every single patrol officer, jumping in the cruise with them, riding along. She has responded to calls when we need her to. And it's via multiple task force, working with our community service officer, Kristen O'Shaughnessy, working with as you know, our department's trained in crisis intervention training, working with the officers, working with Respond, who's a person we have that's not paid for by the town, but on a separate group that comes in as a domestic violence advocate, working with Elder Human Services, the fire department. There's so much that goes on. We kind of all cross in and work with the school resource officers. So a lot of work, but they did a fantastic job with your presentation. I did get to see it, so I couldn't be here, but just want to say that work does great.
very thorough.
As you know, tomorrow's the first day of school. You will see we will be saturating the entire school areas. The first couple days is very hectic for people. New parents learning drop off, going to different schools, pickup locations, traffic's heavy. We plan for it every year. We know it's gonna be heavy. Hopefully the rain pushes through before school starts. But it could be even more hectic if there's rain out there. But we'll be saturating the area. All staff is on hands. Everybody in the building's out there going to all the schools. We're normally heavy in the school area anyway, but you'll see an overabundance the first couple days just to get things going, to make sure everybody's safe. So first thing, the Reading Police Department, as you know, Deputy Chief of Police Christina Amendola. You can go to the next slide, Caitlin. Thank you. So staffing for us. So the Reading Police Department is budgeted for 46 sworn officers, 11 public safety dispatches. We have 3 administrative staff, a parking enforcement officer, and 3 members from the coalition. Right now, due to some retirements, we currently have 3 police officer positions open and 2 public safety dispatcher positions open. We've been very busy. Sean Donahue, the HR director, I think is ready to stop taking my phone calls because we've kept him very busy with the interviews. And we've had interviews we have 2 conditional letters of employment out to 2 police officers. Neither one will need the academy. because they're from other agencies, which is very good. We've actually been drawing in from other police agencies into us, and we're still searching for the third officer right now. And we had 4 interviews today, Deputy, for public safety dispatcher, and we had 1 last week, and we have another one coming up. So we're hoping that to get these positions filled sooner than later. Staffing-wise, within the department this past year, we had 3 people get promoted to sergeant. Matt Orr, Ian Nelson, and Benjamin Woodward have all been promoted to the rank of sergeant and are currently working as sergeants in the departments. And Mike Davis, who came to us from the Department of Corrections, work at the Middlesex Sheriff's, thank you. Middlesex Sheriff's Department came on board, just graduated the academy, and he is now finishing up field training Labor Day weekend, and then he will count as a body on the police department on staffing for us. He did have to go to the academy, so we hired him about 9 months ago. By the time we got through the 6-month academy and field training, now he's on the road with these other 2. Potentially, they could be on the road right around Thanksgiving because they're already police officers. They don't need as much training. So that'd be a big, huge savings to us. Okay, next slide, Caitlin.
One of the ways we feel that we could keep a very highly professional police department is to remain accredited through the Massachusetts Accreditation Commission. This May, we went through an assessment. We had to comply with 341 standards. So not only do they go through our policy, but we have to show examples of that we're actually meeting these policies. So every 3 years, we have to get reaccredited. So that was our 4th reaccreditation. So we're very proud. So we will be accredited for another 3 years and then keep going forward and following the best practices through the state. So
Congratulations.
we're excited about that.
Very excited. And Deputy's done playing it. She was actually the accreditation manager for years while she was a lieutenant, and Lieutenant Jones has since taken over, but she was integral in teaching Lieutenant Jones how to get prepared for an assessment and working through and kind of stayed with it. It helps us in another aspect for police reform. We were already because we're accredited, we were already well ahead of the curve on police reform, and we only had to make some minor changes to policies that were new to this year to police reform. So we were already well ahead of that, and accreditation keeps us with those standards. It keeps us in check. Caitlin, you go to the next slide. Thank you. So the school resource officers, you met them tonight. You met Cooper and Rusty. They are obviously a huge success, the program for us. They are integral in all the schools. And during the summer, they go to the senior center, they go to a lot of the elderly assisted places in town. They go to all community events. You'll see them out there, very visible. They did both National Nights Out in Wilmington and Burlington. And just like I said, it's been exactly what the program wanted to, really breaking down barriers, getting people to reach out, come and talk to the officers. And as a result, we've seen them now approach the officers, all the students, talk to the school resource officers, even when the dogs aren't there. So it's been a huge success for us. They've been very busy. Both Brian and Matt, the school resource officer, did complete the Massachusetts School Resource Officer Training and State Certification, which is required by law under the Police Reform Bill. They've completed that. They successfully have done that. They really did a comprehensive school threat assessment in the buildings and guidelines, working with the school for that. And they are part of the Reading Schools and Police Department's Crisis Intervention Team. They work with us, work with the schools, the coalition, the mental health clinician, the teachers, teaching staff. They work with all of us and they're part of that team. And working with the coalition, they did a vaping prevention presentation at Awesome Prep for grades 6, 7, and 8. And they also taught Choose to Refuse for the 9th graders enrolled in health in the high school. And the upper left picture, they were just actually teaching at the schools for the new teacher induction training. So that part of actually the introduction of new teachers coming in, let them know what their role is, meet the dogs. And like I said, we have a great working relationship with the schools, we always have, and this has just continued that. All right, next slide, please.
This year, we were very excited to have a dedicated civil rights officer. I'm sure everybody's met him. Sergeant Pat Silva has done an outstanding job taking this role and figuring out how it best fits in the town of Reading. He obviously works very closely with the schools. He works closely with the school resource officers and DESE to come up with the best practices of how to handle anything that could occur in our school. He works very closely with Sudeshna at the library. They are actually in the works of planning a very good community event on November 2nd. The details are to follow, but they are working on a good presentation together for a community event. Other things at the library, he's done the Rainbow Run. He works with the Coalition on Mental Health Awareness Day. He attends many trainings and he's bringing them back to the police department. So he is in charge of training not only the town and bringing the community together, but training the officers as well. He has went out and made himself known to every church, religious group, anybody that we think would benefit from knowing who our civil rights officer is and anything we can do to help anybody in town. So he has taken the ball running. So if anybody needs anything, let us know from him, but he's doing a great job getting the word out there.
All right, next slide, Caitlin. A little bit, the Police Department Honor Guard is a special unit we have. It's a 12-person unit. All the uniforms, the dress uniforms, was actually donated by an individual that wanted to remain anonymous, but paid for all the uniforms. They were a very different uniform from us, so they stand out. We're at the events. Now, their primary mission is for any police officer funerals across the New England, but that's not the only thing they do. They're very active in the community as well. From the pictures up there, the upper right is from Veterans Day. Lower left is from Memorial Day, Labor Day for Memorial Day, and the upper left is actually for Special Olympics. When the Reading Public Schools does their Special Olympics Day, where they have a bunch of Special Olympics for the athletes, we've been asked, this is about the 5th year we've done it, where the honor guard actually leads the athletes onto the field and brings them around, and then a student sings the national anthem. And we've been asked to do that, and it really, the officers love doing it because then they stay and do some of the games afterwards, but the athletes love having us there. And they do multiple events. You also see them on the Fall Street Fair on September 11th. They'll be there for the opening ceremony. So it's not just for police departments and things that happen, it's also for community, and they kind of cross over for both. All right, next slide, Caitlin. So community outreach is something the Deputy Chief and I and all the staff are on board with, is really getting out there to know our communities. Some of you might know about the patch projects that we do to help raise awareness for different things. We wear on our uniforms for different months corresponding. Cooper and Rusty, actually, their vests have Velcro patches on so they can Velcro them on and off. But we really try to just get out there and do a lot of community outreach. All right, next slide, Caitlin. One of the most successful programs we have is the Rad Program. It's Rape Aggression Defense. It's a women's only self-defense program. It is our longest running program. We started in 1996, and it's been supported by donations. Private individuals, businesses in town have donated toward it, and we've been able to keep it running. The Women's League of Reading every year donates a significant amount of money towards us to keep this program running, and we've put thousands of women through this program. It's 4-hour nights. It's a big commitment, but it's well worth it. And the officers, I'm too old. I used to teach it a long time ago. I'm too old to get beat up like that. So we have a younger staff that's in there now, but we have a great group of officers and dispatchers that teach the program. It's been very successful, and we continue to run. We save the slots mostly for Reading people, but if somebody from Wakefield or Wilmington needs something, we've got to call for another agency. We fit them in. We're not just gonna, if somebody needs the program, we're gonna get them in there. And students going off to college, they started on college campuses mostly, and we were actually only the third municipality to start this in 1996, and the municipality's caught on since. It's a very successful program for us. And we do have a class coming up this fall, which is filling up quickly. We're going to minimum offer 2 a year, every year, and keep it going. And like I said, it's all been supported by donations. All right, next slide, Caitlin, please.
Our Lunchroom Takeover. So one of the ways we want to work with children in a positive light and them to get to know us, we go to every elementary school at least once to twice a year, and we bring about 5 or 6 officers and we go serve their lunch. They are excited every time they walk around the corner and they see the officers. We're only allowed to serve pizza now because we gave too many tater tots and meatballs and we were shut off. So pizza only if the police are there. It is one of the most exciting days we have, and it's exhausting. These kids will ask you everything, and it's hysterical. But again, it's just a way to build a relationship very young that they can always approach us, and we're here to help them. Next slide, Caitlin. Another program, more interactive with the adults, Coffee with a Cop. We didn't create it, but we jumped on board. It's a great way for, if people are nervous to come to the police station, they don't want to ask a question, but they just randomly run into us while getting coffee, they can ask us anything. It should now be called Coffee with the Cop and the Town Manager because he's there, he's out there with us. We bring all different police officers, so the traffic officer, the school resource officer. We want everyone to be there to answer any question that the public has. So we do have another one coming up. Our next one is at Cafe Nero. Give you that date. I have it in my later slides. It's there. It'll be done in the rest of the presentation. We do have another one coming up in October, and I'll give you that date. Next slide. The bike helmet citation. This is another way of getting out there with the children in a positive light. They don't know why they're getting pulled over, so they get a little nervous, and then we're like, no, we're here, we're good. They get a citation from us, We have 9 local businesses in Reading that contribute, mostly pizza restaurants and ice cream parlors. And we're so grateful for our businesses to allow us this positive interaction with the kids. We're obviously promoting safety and wearing a bike helmet, and then you get rewarded by either a free slice of pizza or a free ice cream. So we thank the businesses that help us do that.
Next slide, please, Caitlin. Thank you. Our open house, we were finally, after COVID, able to have it this past spring. It is very successful. I don't know who that crazy guy on the lower left is, but he had a great time at the open house.
I like to caucus.
It's been very successful. We have actually expanded it every single year. We talked to the bank and the paint store and Anton's Cleaners, and they were more than happy to let us take over the rest of the Hardin Street lot. We had to extend out into the Hardin Street lot because of the amount of vehicles that come. The National Guard has jumped on board and brought all sorts of Army vehicles and soldiers there. The state police came. Nemlec came with their SWAT trucks. We had motorcycles, canines. We had our comfort dogs there, and we average about 500 to 800 kids that come throughout the day, and it's very successful. They have a blast. The Shriners work with us, and they do a child identification kit where they take the DNA swab, a photo of the kid, fingerprints for free. We do a tour of the cells. We teach fingerprint demonstrations. We have jumpy houses there. The kids get to climb into all sorts of different vehicles, cruises, and everything. So they have. It's been a very successful program. We're looking forward to keeping it every single year, and every year we try to add something new to just keep it different, so it's not the same thing every year. But it's been very successful for us. Can you do the next slide?
Mark attended, he said it was great. I
Yep.
had a conflict.
Caitlin, can you do the next? Thank you. Special Olympics Cruiser Convoy. We did it again this year. Had been on hold again because of COVID, but this is my 6th year doing it. We brought more staff with us, and basically what we do is we meet up at the Liberty Tree Mall, and we go lights and sirens from the Liberty Tree Mall to Boston College. From Boston College, the Western contingent and the Southern contingent meet up. We go lights and sirens all the way to Harvard Stadium. And this year we had just shy of 300 cruisers participating in there. And we go to the Special Olympics that's going on at Harvard. There's a lot of Reading families that participate in this. That's why we really want to get involved. And we go, they're outside waving to us as we go by, lights and sirens. 300 cruisers coming by, lights and sirens. The state police helicopter flying over is very impressive. The students love having us there. They couldn't wait for us to come back this year. We do a big barbecue with them afterwards. And the officers get to go to all the events, cheer the athletes on, and then we get to hand out medals to the people that win for their different opportunities. As you can see, Officer Smith doing on the upper right. And the officers that get to do it, we rotate the officers through, have an absolute blast with it. The students love having us there. They pose the photographs with us. It's been a great program, and I really want to, something I want to keep going on. It's what, like I said, been very successful.
That's great.
Okay. Next slide, thank you.
Another fun day we get to have at schools, at the elementary schools, are High Five Days. This is actually the Massachusetts Police Chiefs Association will set a date each year that they would like every department in the Massachusetts to participate in. So I think we did this in maybe March or April last year. They're very disappointed when they get to the school and Cooper and Rusty are not the chosen ones for their school. So it's just like, oh, you're there? Thanks. But it's great for us. But, you know, the kids that get Cooper and Rusty get the most excited. But it's just a great day, great morning for them. They get excited. They had no idea we're coming. Most of the principals keep it a secret, so. Just quickly, some of the other community events we participated in that you might not be aware of. A couple of times a year we do the Bob Kraft Brigham and Women's Blood Drive. We have it at the station. We put it out to the town. If any town members would also like to give blood, they can do that at our station. We have a very good relationship with the YMCA. We've set up basketball games. We played them. Some of the teenagers have really beat us, I will say. So they won. Some of the other things, we participate at Healthy Kids Day at the YMCA. We do a Touch a Truck at the YMCA as well as the library. We visit the YMCA's camp and we'll go and visit, we'll give out ice cream sundaes for the day. And we also go to the Pleasant Street Center a lot. We go there for the health community resource. Our community resource officer, Kristen Stasiak, she goes by there often. She used to have lunch with Kristen. We're trying to bring that back after COVID, so we'll see if they are ready for that yet. We also, anytime any Girl Scout or Boy Scout troop needs a tour, we are there. Anybody in town that's doing a raffle, we always offer a ride to school from a police officer, so people enjoy that. So we are very out there. We are willing to try to make any community event work that anybody can think of.
Next slide, Caitlin. So, some of you might have heard about NEMLEC, you might not know, NEMLEC is the Northeastern Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council, and it's a regional makeup of 65 different towns throughout Middlesex and Essex. And what they provide us a tremendous amount of resources available to us if we need them. It's made up of the Regional Response Team, also known as the RRT. There is a SWAT team, there's canines, mountain bikes, crisis negotiators, and a motorcycle unit in search and rescue. So if we ever do have a missing person and we're really looking for somebody and we need to be in the woods, the town forest, for example, I can make one phone call to North Andover because that's the main headquarters for it, and I can get about 350 police officers here within an hour to help us out with ATVs, bikes, drones. The state police helicopter will come. So we have, part of it, being part of NEMLEC, we have to provide a certain amount of officers. So the upper left, you're gonna see Officer Breer and Officer Tango. I'm gonna explain what that is in a couple more slides. He was on the NEMLEC RRT, he's now moved over to the canine unit. As a result, we have some openings. So the middle side, Officer Maria Nicopoulos and Officer Givenson-Bazard are now representatives for NEMLEC. They're on the RRT team. They do crowd control, searches, anything we would need, larger events, they would be called out and do regional. So Salem, as you know, Salem during Halloween is crazy up there. They'll be up there. They're also out there for the Boston Marathon. We have agreements with those towns with Metrolec or Southlec, the different other regional areas, and they'll be out there. But Maria and Givenson just got added to the unit. Second one in from the left, Joe Pagnotta is one of our public safety dispatchers. He's on the incident management team. When we do have a large call out, they bring a huge command truck which can talk to all the radios within the Commonwealth. And there's public safety dispatchers that sit on that. And because they're dispatchers and they have expertise in it, they sit there and help kind of help run the scene. And Brian and Matt, our school resource officers, Cooper and Rusty, are on the STARS, which is the school threat assessment and response team. They're on team 1 and team 2. That way, if the team gets called out, team 1 gets called out, we still have one of the school resource officers in our town with the dog. But they go out, and if there's ever God forbid, a faculty death or student death in a town, and they're looking for counselors and grief counselors to come out, or if there's ever a threat at a school, they will respond and be part of that response with NEMLEC. So that's all the representatives we have from NEMLEC on there. It's been a huge resource when we need them and you make a phone call. They are here, and they don't come in and take over. They come in and just provide help for us, and that's key. They're not there just to take over.
That's great.
Next slide, Caitlin, please. So I just threw out some of the calls for service, and this is year to date as of last week when I sent the stats in. Overall, we've had 13,739 calls for service. When I ran the numbers for last year, we had 13,556. So we're slightly up for this year to date. We have seen an increase in calls as COVID has left out. Mental health related calls are already at 312. I think we had 600 something all of last year, so we're on pace. Suicide attempts or threats, we've already had 37 this year. Domestic disputes 65. Calls for domestic assistance, where it's not a fight, but somebody's looking for help with a family member. It could be information about a restraining order, a son or daughter who is, or a spouse, or somebody's having mental health issues or drug or alcohol issues. That's a domestic assistance call. Overdoses, we've had 12 this year already. We've had 185 arrests and summonses, 282 car crashes. A Section 12 is an involuntary committal. We send somebody to the hospital for voluntary committal for mental health reasons. Tanya's been very crucial in that, but police officers can fill out that Section 12. We have filled out 33 of them this year already. We've put people in for involuntary committal to a hospital to get help. And all that means is it gets them to the emergency room, and a physician or a psychologist reviews it. If they agree, then they get to hold them for longer, 3 days up to 30. It just gets us to the hospital to get treatment. We work very close with the fire department and the coalition on those. Missing people, we've had 20 missing people already, and suspicious vehicles, motorcycles, we've had 318. So it's been a busy year already. Again, these were year to date up until last week when I put the slides in. Next slides, Caitlin. So what does the future hold for the Reading Police Department? So Officer Briere and Tango. Tango's our newest member of the police department. Officer Chris Briere's been with us for a few years. The deputy chief had been working hard and was able to get us the Stanton grant, which covered us to get a canine. And it covers the dog, it covered the cost of the dog, retrofit of the cruiser to a heating and cooling kit and a kennel for the dogs. That's the same thing that SROs have. The bulletproof vest, the entire 14-week training, 3 years worth of food, some medical expenses, and it covered everything. So the grant, basically, it's for free for the first 3 years for us. He is a Belgian Malinois. He's 11 years old. He is going to be trained in search. The biggest thing for us is search. As you know, we already had 20 missing people. As the population of Reading starting to age, as we have some memory units in town, his biggest main function is gonna be searching for missing people, missing kids, anybody with a mental health illness, Alzheimer's, anything we can go in the woods and he can track. If it's already been an hour since we got notified the person's missing, our search area is tremendous. We've had calls where it's taken us 45 minutes to an hour to get a dog in for a search. Add an hour on top of that hour, our search area has grown immensely, and it's almost impossible to track the person down. Throw in inclement weather coming, it affects the dog's ability to track. So having our own dog available for these call-outs was really gonna help us find people and fast. So that's the main reason we applied for the grant. We started well over a year ago under Bob, and then when we finally got approved, Fidel had to sign off on it, and when we presented it to him, he was definitely in agreement and signed off with us. And so he is out on the road with us now. He's not deployable because he's not fully trained, but he does ride along, get used to working with Officer Briere, and then he leaves for the Boston Canine Academy for 14 weeks, so he'll be on the road, hopefully certified in December. And that's what
I
we're
saw
looking for.
that grant on that list, so kudos and thank you for going to that effort.
The other thing we brought back was the motorcycle unit. We brought back Motorcycle One. We've had it years ago when I was in the department, and it is a great tool for us to get out into the community. It also allows us to go to areas the cruisers can't go to. The parks and playgrounds, perfect example, a couple weeks ago, we actually only had the motorcycle for a day, and we got a call from another police agency that a missing person that was suicidal. Their phone was pinging up near the town forest and the golf course. The motorcycle could drive down those trails, drive down the golf cart areas and on the field and look for the person where the cruisers couldn't do that. And it's been great. It's very heavy in traffic enforcement. We have 3 officers that are trained and certified on the motorcycle. They have to go through a 40-hour course to get trained. And they have been out there making a ton of traffic stops and bicycle helmet citations. They've been going crazy with them, driving through the neighborhoods. It's a great way. Kids see it, parents see it. People love the motorcycle. They pull over, they jump off the bike, talk to people. You will see it leading some of the parades and events going on. It's just a great community policing tool for us to have out there, but it's a fully functioning cruiser. It responds to calls of service. It can make traffic stops. It can do everything, but it's just another aspect for us to get out there. The mountain bike unit on the upper right is something I've been working hard to bring back. We're outfitting the mountain bike officers. We're gonna be bringing the mountain bike back. We have what's called a park and deploy, where there's a bike rack, put the bike on back of the cruiser. Cruiser does this routine service. It parks for an hour someplace, they call off when calls are slow. They jump out, they'll be hitting the town forest, hitting the woods, hitting the parks, hitting the playgrounds, the square, driving around, meeting people. The benefit is that if it starts getting busy, they can ride right back, throw the bike back on the cruiser and go. But we're gonna be outfitting a total of 13 officers that are coming out of the academy trained. It's a 40-hour training class to get on there, but the officers are coming out of the academy trained. And so now we're outfitting them and getting them out on the road. We have 6 bikes that are fully worked up, ready to go for this, and it's something I've really wanted to get back out there.
And that, Ben, may I ask, I do remember it from before, why did that disappear?
I wasn't the chief. I don't know for different reasons, Karen, it just didn't, it's something I really wanted to bring back.
Funding.
Yeah,
No,
that's,
great.
some of it was, other officers weren't coming out training, now the academies haven't come out trained, but it's something I definitely wanted to get back out there and really get up, going. Some of the officers originally on it, you will see them out there now, but we're getting more and more of the newer officers on there for it. We're very excited. Our first of our 2 hybrid cruises should be on the road this fall. They're up at the Adamson getting outfitted with the lights and sirens. They are Ford Explorers. They won't look any different but the hybrid cruises, which means that they run on battery. When the battery runs down, the engine does kick on. Because we run our cruises 24/7, I wanted to have a couple towns have them first. I've talked about 12 different agencies that have them and run their cruises 24/7 like we do. They love them, and they say that the estimating it saves about $6,000 a year per cruiser in gas for us. So we're very excited to have those
Carbon
up there.
emissions, because I know you have to do, especially when the weather's not nice.
Yep.
You have to sit there and they're running, so I'm really excited about
And for
this.
traffic enforcement, it allows us to still do everything we need to, but without the engine running. So we're very excited to have those on. So the first 2, I'm gonna guess is right around the end of September, you'll see them on the road. And we did receive an earmark. We were notified by Brad Jones that we received an earmark for the coalition, so particularly for a cruise, not for a cruiser, a car. We'll be purchasing our first electric car. We just test drove a bunch with the coalition. I let them test drive a bunch of things. We received a $50,000 earmark to get an electric car, and that'll be coming to us hopefully soon. And the reason we looked for the coalition is there was an incident where our advocate from Respond was actually following up on somebody and took her own car. And the ex-boyfriend who was the issue saw the car pull up, took photographs of her in her car and her plate, and didn't want him to eventually be able to track the car down. So we were looking to get a car anyway for the coalition, and then when the earmark came out and what we needed, it was a perfect opportunity for us not only to get an electric car, but also a car that it comes back to the police department, something that they can go in. There's not gonna be police plates on it, not municipal plates, regular everyday plates, no markings on it. That way they can go if they need to follow up. It doesn't draw attention. If Tanya needs to go follow up with a family, it doesn't draw any attention, and it'd be a great resource for them to have too. So we're very excited for that coming up.
I was wondering, are your vehicles going to so I've seen some Boston police units saying this is a hybrid, so you're sitting in traffic and the car goes by and you're like, whoa, they're driving a hybrid. Were you guys gonna paint that on the side of these two new cruisers?
That's what we're gonna talk about with Markarian, who, out of Wakefield, that does our markings on it. That's something we talked about doing, and they could add to it, just like the one they added the comfort dogs to the car, it's something they can add on, yeah. But we're looking forward to it, we're excited to it, and if it works out great for us, I plan on replacing the whole fleet every year as we buy new cruisers, that's what we plan on doing.
That's exciting. They're really fast. I think you guys are gonna be pretty excited about that. These bad guys don't stand a chance. And Greg Phipps, I'm sure Fidel has told you, has earmarked more chargers for the town of Reading. You just have to figure out where to put them.
Good, perfect. Thank you. All right, next slide, please, Caitlin.
And so just so you all are aware of a couple of events that are upcoming within the next few months. One of our favorite things is Citizen Police Academy. It's gonna be running from September 13th to November. And it's a great way for everyone in the town to learn about police investigations, crime prevention, emergency response. You get to know many different police officers. We switch instructors every night. So it's just a really good way for the community to understand how the Reading Police Department polices. And really, the biggest thing is everyone gets to see, oh, these are real people too. And they get to know each officer and they feel comfortable. And I can't get enough positive feedback when it comes to an end of how great everyone loves it. We have people asking to go twice. So if anybody's interested, we have a couple seats left. So you would just email our community service officer, Kristen O'Shaughnessy, but it's something worth everyone should take. I love it. What the chief talked about, Rad, we are running another Rad program, Self-Defense for Women. That starts September 19th. That's a total of 4 classes, 3 hours each. Again, if you're interested, please reach out to Officer O'Shaughnessy. And Coffee with a Cop is October 20th at 10 a.m. at Cafe Nero. So anybody that wants to join us there, please do. We hope to see you all. And training. Training is something that the chief and I we harp on. We think it's the best way, again, to keep up with the officers. Ever since, well, actually far before police reform, we were very into crisis intervention training. We have over half of our officers trained in that now, and we continue to send 2 each time the class opens up. It only runs a few times a year, but we get 2 officers in each time. It's a 5-week course on really how to just de-escalate and respond to many different situations, whether it's mental illness, dealing with a child with autism, just anything out of the ordinary where you just really need to learn how to slow everything down and try to talk your way out of everything, just to get everyone calm. So we put a lot of time and effort into de-escalation training. We obviously have our 40 hours of in-service training, and they are focused this year again on duty to intervene. Officers are not allowed to stand by and watch another officer use excessive force. You'll be held accountable, so we're stressing that as well. And more civil rights training the MPTC is bringing to the academy this year. So as well as our normal trainings, but we just really want to harp on that with our officers.
And if you've been to the station, you've seen the update on the training room that the town provided us the funding for last year at the station, that expansion room that's empty, the training room. We're very excited to have that. With that new training room, we can host trainings, and we host trainings, we usually generally get 2 to 3 free slots out of the trainings. We can send 3 officers for free, and we're really looking forward to hosting a lot more trainings at our department and become a central location for people to host the trainings. And one thing we forgot was the seniors dinner.
Oh, I skipped right by,
sorry.
sorry.
Do you want to, or you want me to? We going back to doing the dinner with the seniors. We used to call it the ham and bean dinner at the senior center. This year, we're actually going to be changing from the ham and beans, and Harrow's restaurant has worked up with us, and they want to donate the chicken pies.
Nice.
So we're going to have that booked, and we're going to be going again to the senior center. I think we max out at 50 people.
Yep.
And that is going to be on
October 12th.
October 12th, and working with the senior center, and we'll go back with the officers, go out and hand the dinner to the seniors, and then we sit and get to talk with them. The best thing about this Coffee with the Cop and like the school lunch program, there's no agenda. We sit there and we answer questions, hang out, get to know the officers, and it's been very successful. It sells out quickly. Not sells out, it books out. We don't charge for it. It books out quickly. The slots book out quickly, but we're looking forward to Harrow's has been really interested in working with us and has been reaching out to us. We're excited to work with them and get that going
Yeah,
again,
that's
just
a
get back out
popular
the rest of the
menu
unit,
item.
yeah.
Great.
So, and that's the extent of our presentation for tonight. Any questions from anybody or?
This was terrific. Select board members? Carlo? Oh, I see, Chris, you have your hand up?
No, wait, see if Carlo is.
Can I put him to sleep?
No, I'm here, thank you.
Nice.
I was gonna have some questions on the service calls, but you answered most of them, so thank you. And, just great job all around. Obviously, being out in the community is very important. And I'm sure the residents appreciate that as much as we do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Chris?
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, I just like Erica's presentation at the last meeting, I think it was very well put together. It just shows that 99% of that is all community related stuff with the kids and everything else and just being involved. So I appreciate you guys doing that, not only for me, but for everybody else in the community. And it just reassures me that when I drop my daughter off at school, that I know that she's going to be taken care of in the best response time possible. So I don't know anywhere else in the world you want to go to school, but Reading sounds pretty decent to me. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great presentation. I don't think the select board's had a presentation like this in almost 3 years with the pandemic and all of that stuff. So it's nice to be able to talk about non-pandemic relating items. Thank you for putting all this together and so excited. I was a little confused. So we now have 3 canines. So that's exciting.
Yeah, so it's 2 comfort dogs and a canine that's slightly different.
Yeah, okay.
Tango's more, like I said, his primary thing is gonna be search. That's why we were looking forward to him, and it took, I know the deputy chief, it's all her, she gets all the, yeah, it was. She gets all the kudos, she found the grant, did the research of the grant, applied for it, and thankfully we got it. And like I said, it's great because it covers the major costs of the dog for us, and it's gonna be a huge asset to the town out there. If, God forbid, a child goes missing, the instantaneous response time really gets us the benefit
And there
for us.
have been seniors that
Yeah.
have wandered off,
Yep.
so. yeah.
And some of them, I know one we found in Medford, and one we found in Wakefield, almost on the Melrose line, and again, that delay in trying to get the dog in there, this has been crucial for us to get the dog out there and really get moving. So we're very excited to have him on. It's a beautiful dog, so we're very excited.
Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, Jackie.
Yeah, no, it's okay. This was great, and as a relatively new member of the select board, it's very helpful to see all you've done in the community, and so thank you, and to all the officers for your service. Just one question on the calls. Obviously a number of these calls related to mental health or substance abuse disorder. How do these numbers so far compare to the past few years? How are they trending? And specifically on slide 28, like the mental health related overdoses.
So overdoses, when I ran the numbers from last year, are a slight increase than the last couple of years. Mental health is pretty much right on track to be right around where we are within a few numbers. The suicide attempts or threats, or they actually sadly completed, are up this year. So we have seen that. So we've seen some of the domestics have taken a slight dip down, which is good news. So it's we've seen kind of a mix, but mental health overall related, it's a steady trend up, but not like 100 more than it was one year, but everything is trending slightly up. I didn't want to statistic all of you to death, so I that's why I kind of just threw some numbers out at you. But yeah, when I did some year-to-year comparison, some were right on track for, but others sadly we're going up on. And that's why we're thrilled that the town meeting passed the mental health clinician, and that's going to be a huge asset to us.
Thank you.
Great. We're looking forward to hearing that the coalition space and the training center is complete and functional.
Yep. Looking forward to that too. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank
you. Thank you, Deputy. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so next, we're a little bit behind, resolution for Sally Hoyt.
Did we want to discuss it first, or do you just want me to read it and then after, or?
Well, just for those watching at home that may be new to Reading, Sally Hoyt was a long-term, Sally Hoyt celebrated her 100th birthday, and she was a longtime select board member, and it didn't kill her, and apparently it enabled her to live a long and happy life, and she's still going strong, and she's a shining example of elders contributing to be vibrant, active, and meaningful advocates in our community. So tonight, to go along with the celebration that the senior Pleasant Street Center held for Sally Hoyt, the Reading Select Board would like to issue a proclamation further honoring her service. If any board members have any comments, I would be happy to take them. Chris?
Thanks, Karen. So I attended Sally's 100th birthday at the Pleasant Street Center, which is heavily attended as well. And afterwards, I asked her what advice she would give me as a relatively new select board member. And I don't know if she's watched me here before or what the deal is, but she suggested that I just listen is her biggest advice for me. So I'd like to think that she knows what she's talking about, so I will go with that.
I'll take that.
We do have an email that the former town manager, who was the town manager during Sally, so Peter Heckenblecker sent in, if I could read that if you like.
That'd be great.
So it says, Fidel, I learned through the Reading Patch that the select board is honoring Sally Hoyt on the occasion of her 100th birthday. Want to add my congratulations to Sally on this occasion and wish her a long and fruitful life. As Reading's first town manager, I worked with Sally when she was a member of the Conservation Commission, a constable as a member of the Board of Selectmen, and later as a member of the Council on Aging. She stands out for her volunteer efforts in a community known for its outstanding volunteers. Congratulations on your 100th birthday, Sally, and best wishes for many more, Peter Heckenblecker. But as me, relatively new to town politics aside, it's just seeing everything that she was involved in. I don't know how she had time to do anything else, really. It's pretty exceptional. So, yes, her 100th birthday, congratulations, and then
Thank you
anyone
for
else has
sharing that.
anything?
I'm sure lots of people watching at home remember Mr. Heckenblecker. And also, I should just be specific and say that Sally Hoyt is still serving on the Council of Aging, so she hasn't slowed down. 100 is not the end of anything, it's just a celebration. Okay, any other comments? Carlo, Jackie?
No, thank you. I fully support what the proclamation resolution says. And, I noticed on the agenda it said discussed, I hopefully we can, vote on this tonight, just, praise her as she deserves it, and we'll move on. But again, to echo what Chris said, yeah, just amazing accomplishments and still active to this day, so pretty incredible. And she's an example for all of us.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay, so is the proclamation in the form, I looked at it briefly, it's not in the form of a motion, is it? How do we?
No, it's just the same as,
Same as the ones we do it every time, and I copied what we've done for the previous ones, so, yeah.
Okay, so we should just read it, we don't need to vote.
no, we didn't vote on the Bill Russell last time or
Yeah.
which one came before that, but yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Secretary, if you do the honors.
Sure thing. So Reading commemorates Sally Hoyt's 100th birthday resolution, August 30th, 2022, whereas Sally Hoyt celebrated the joyous occasion of her 100th birthday on August 20th, 2022, and whereas Sally Hoyt was born on August 20th, 1922, grew up in Somerville, and has lived in Reading for over 75 years, where she and her late husband Brendan raised their 3 children, Brendan L. Hoyt Jr. and the late John E. Hoyt, and Sally Jean O'Grady, all of whom are descendants of the family that lived in Reading's Parker Tavern. And whereas Sally Hoyt's public service to her community began in the 1960s and has been boundless, as she was involved in countless town interests and projects such as winning a seat on the Select Board in 1990, serving on the Council of Aging for over 20 years, serving as Senate President of the Silver-Haired Legislature and serving as Reading Constable, just to name a few of her accomplishments and involvements. And whereas during her years of selfless service, Sally Hoyt was the recipient of numerous awards, made many valuable contributions to her community, held multiple important positions in public and private agencies, and worked to change the world around her for the better. And whereas Sally Hoyt is and always remain an integral part of Reading community and created a legacy of positive change and tenacity, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Reading Select Board, joins with Sally Hoyt, her family, and the town of Reading in wishing her a happy 100th birthday. Select Board of Reading.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
So if you wanna sign that,
Yep.
you can pass it around. Okay, terrific. Let's see, so next, discuss proposed changes to the town personnel policy.
Thank you. On Zoom, we have Sean Donahue, who is our Director of Human Resources, and Jim Pender, who is our Labor Counsel. Prior to them speaking, though, I just wanted to give a very high-level overview of what we are doing. So if you recall, when I started in February, Sean presented his update basically on where we were. In February, we made a commitment to return to the select board in 6 months, and we're almost to the day. We have Sean and I met for 1 hour a week for the last 6 months. So we put quite a bit of effort on these policies, and even prior to my arrival, Sean had put a lot of effort already with a working group of staff, right? Who essentially went through the entire policies. The last time that we had a comprehensive review of our policies was in 2009, and as you can imagine, quite a bit of laws have changed since then that relate to employment law. This is not the last time that we will review these policies, but my intention was to bring the policies up to date, if you will, from a legal standpoint, but not to commit the town to any major changes that more specifically had a financial impact. So we at the onset, we wanted to make sure that this first round of changes had no financial impact to the town. It was more an update on how we do business. With that said, I'll hand it over to Sean.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So as Fidel mentioned, we've spent a little bit of time on this policy, and we've really, I think, come a long way. And we're just trying to bring this up to today's standards and applicability with the law. And I'm just going to go through a few of those tonight with you. I'm not going to go through every line of the policy, but I do have our Labor Counsel Jim Pender from Morgan Brown and Joy on the call as well, should there be any legal questions regarding this for his expertise needed. So I'm just going to share my screen, where this is going to be the bold and cross out version that is on the in the select board packet. So can everyone see this, I assume?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to start off with section 5.1.9. So this is a section on a probationary period. Now, a probationary period is something that we use for any new hire that comes into the town of Reading. Currently, if somebody comes on as a non-union staff member, they have a 6-month probationary period in which to show that they are doing well in the position and that it's a good move for both the town and the employee for the role. We are looking to extend that out to a 1-year probationary period for a couple of reasons. One, it gives us a longer look back period on the employee's cyclical processes in a position. In addition to that, all of our union contracts were updated to include a 1-year probationary period. So this would just sort of bring everyone up to that same level. With that, we did indicate some additional restrictions and usage of time off benefits. During that time, we tried to be as fair as possible, trying to give people the understanding that, you know, they're going to come into Reading as they would any employer with vacations planned. So we want to make sure that we can accommodate them as best we can, while also making sure that they are here to do the job in which they were signed up to do. So that's what that section is about. The next section is section 6.2.4. So this section is especially applicable on this evening. This section is regarding the starting pay rates. So we are looking to remove the need of the town manager to bring an offer to the select board when said offer exceeds the step 8 on the town's compensation chart that the select board approves on an annual basis. So the next, I believe the next item on the agenda tonight is doing exactly that, bringing an offer forward. So we would like to strike this just because we've seen in the past, we've lost some really great candidates because we had not brought those forward to the select board in those times. But as we all know, we are in a very competitive job market, so we want to try to allow for as much flexibility as possible when it comes down to that process. In addition to that, we definitely have internal controls in place with both our town accountant, finance director, Sharon Engstrom, being very prudent with our budget, making sure that we don't hire outside of anything that was budgeted. In addition to that, I always want to speak with both the town manager and the department head on internal equity, making sure that if we're bringing in someone for a position, we're not bringing them in a place that will compromise us from either an internal equity standpoint of violating any laws like the Mass Pay Equity Act, and also we don't want to have a morale issue on our hands. So that's that section. The next section is going to be 7.2.1. This is our new equal opportunity employer statement, which just goes over all of the protected classes that we want to make sure are included, that people are aware that we are a very open employer. We are willing to work with anyone and everyone. We're excited to embrace that, and we wanted to make that clear. In addition to that, there's new language beneath that regarding other applicable laws like ADA and our Massachusetts Pregnant Worker Fairness Act that just sort of reinstates that. Moving on, Article 9. There's going to be a few sections in Article 9 I'm going to discuss. All right. So Article 9 is specific to time off benefits and working conditions. So in Article 9, the town manager, Fidel, had just mentioned how we haven't had a comprehensive update to our personnel policy in quite some time. I believe within about a year or two of the last policy being adopted, the town of Reading switched to a 4-day town hall work week, and that affects people's time off benefits. So this section just sort of memorializes for the past 12, 13 years what the town has been doing in order to state what someone's time off benefits look like if they work 4 days versus 5 days. Moving on to section 9.8.3. This is going to be on the Family Medical Leave Act. All right, let me get there. 9.8.3. Okay, so 9.8.3 is regarding any time off benefits when somebody is on FMLA. Now, to qualify for FMLA, an employee needs to meet certain standards regarding their time with the town as well as the number of hours that they work. So when someone is approved for that, FMLA leaves it up to the employer to decide if time off benefits such as sick time or vacation or holiday or what have you, if those are allowed to continue to accrue. In our current policy, it states that they will not keep accruing, and and the folks that worked on this, we wanted to update that to allow the benefits to continue to accrue. Couple reasons for that. One, when someone is out on FMLA, for all intents and purposes, they're still treated as an employee regarding any benefits they have with the town, like health insurance. In addition to that, they're going to be reinstated to their position when they come back, or one very similar to if necessary. Also, Massachusetts had the paid family medical leave pass a few years ago that Reading and all municipalities are exempt from, and to my knowledge, we haven't had any other municipalities opt into that program in the whole state. So this was just a step forward in allowing some benefit to our staff members, and I look at it as a baby step, and I look forward to in the future expanding on that, hopefully. Still under FMLA, I'm going to go to 9.8.5, and this is regarding when someone is out on FMLA, the type of PTO usage that is required. So I've added a section, and this sort of this mirrors what I've heard from other colleagues, as well as what our school department does. If somebody goes out, if the employee has a child, we're going to set a limitation of the 8 weeks of their leave. Up to the FMLA is for 12 weeks, but the first 8 weeks can be used as sick time. Anything beyond that would have to be another PTO benefit, unless the employee has any complications, and if they're on medical, if their doctor provides medical documentation stating that somebody needs to stay out of work for medical reasons, then we would allow the extended use of that sick time, same as we would for anybody that had any other ailment. In addition to that, another small step in the process is if an employee, if their spouse is the one who gives birth, we wanted to allow some sort of benefit to the employee. And what we are proposing is that they may use up to 2 weeks of their own sick time before having to use vacation time, and that would not count against any family sick leave that is mentioned in our previously stated sick time section, where someone gets only 5 sick days a year to attend a family member who's ill, or tend to, I should say. So we wanted to offer something aside from that. Moving on to holidays. So back in January of this year, I believe, is when we had come forth and added Juneteenth to our holiday calendar. So that's awesome. I just wanted to point out that in our holiday section, we have language in there now similar to the PTO earlier, where we went from a 5-day to a 4-day work week for town hall employees. We just wanted to add explanation for what that means for if a holiday falls on a Friday for a 4-day versus a 5-day person. And also if a holiday is left on a Saturday by the state, how that is handled as well. And then the last section that I'm going to touch on is our new remote work section, which is 9.22, which back in 2009 was, I don't think, on anyone's minds for municipality, but this is just a policy that will allow for staff members to have some access to remote work, and it has to be approved by their department head, and that can be up to 1 day a week. In addition to that, if the employee is needing a longer term accommodation, they can go through a process in which the town manager and HR review the request to make sure that it's compliant with this and isn't anything far exceeding any other staff members throughout the town. And we're looking to accommodate that as well through that process. So that's the last section I wanted to touch on. From an overarching view, I'll say that a lot of the changes in this policy I mentioned were to bring us up to date with various laws that have been enacted in since that time of last adoption. We've also added, as best we can, a gender-neutral focus to this policy. We've added a change from Board of Selectmen to Select Board, from Human Resources Administrative to Human Resources Director. And then amongst those other changes that we discussed, the goal of this is to allow for us to better attract and retain staff members, and provide management with great tools to continue to work with the employees of Reading. One of the things that I am really proud of in this town, amongst many, is the fact that we have this term called the Reading Rebound, where we have a lot of staff members who have been here for some time, and sometimes they decide to pursue another opportunity, whether it be private sector or public, making sometimes a decent earning in the other employer's realm, and they decide to come back to Reading. So that's something that we need to be very proud of here, and I certainly am. So with that being said, I wanted to just turn it back over to the board to see if there were any questions or comments on this. Thank you very much.
Board members, any comments? Jackie, I ignored you before. Do you want to go first? Sorry.
No, I mean, I appreciate Fidel and Sean the opportunity to walk through this with you and all the work that you put into this over a decade of, you know, not only employment law evolution, but kind of evolution in the marketplace for talent. And so I don't have any questions specifically. I appreciate the updates in FMLA. I think that helps make us and keep us as a competitive place to work. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, and thank you to Sean and Matt. I sat down with them as well for an hour and went over all of this as best as we all could. And yeah, I mean, a lot of it pretty much is just cut and dry, lots of loopholes all tied up, et cetera. So I'm all set.
Okay, Carlo?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to echo what Jack and Chris said. I know this is a lot of work, and it's 2022, so hopefully this will satisfy the town for some time, but I'm sure Sean and staff will update as needed if any new laws come into effect and all that fun stuff. So thank you very much.
Great. I did also have the opportunity to sit down with Sean and Fidel and talk about this. And so I understand, thank you for your rating. These are non-financial impact changes as we go into a very busy budget season. And I also understand, so we're not done, because we did talk a lot about being able to do better for our young families and families of childbearing age, and so that would be a longer term consideration. So, but there's a lot of good changes here, and I appreciate that, and this looks good.
Thank you. So as a reminder, we will post for a public hearing for your meeting on September 13th, and we will ask the select board to vote on these changes. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Thanks, Jim.
It's a lot of work.
Thank you.
Okay, both of you, thank you. Okay, 8:15, approve hiring town manager, grade J, step 11.
Treasurer.
What did I say?
Town manager.
Okay, yeah, we're okay with town manager, we'll stick with hiring and treasurer.
There's a letter
Sorry.
item on the agenda.
Sorry about that. We haven't even gotten to
memo.
review yet, sorry.
That's why, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get the memo for that. It's been great.
My apologies. Let's hire a treasurer, that's
Let's hire
a
a treasurer,
critical
yeah.
hire right now.
So we were extremely shocked when Andrew Kumi said that he had chosen to go a different direction. He lives in Reading. He is highly engaged and has promised to remain engaged and supportive. He was very open about the fact that he left for a higher paying opportunity, and he has a growing family and chose to go in that direction. We scrambled right away. We posted the position. We received 5 applicants, and we interviewed all 5. We had a hiring committee made up of 4 people, but Andrew participated as well. He just didn't get a vote. The members of the hiring committee was Sharon Angstrom, who this position would report to, Sean, we just heard from, and Karen Jameson, who is the assistant treasurer. So we definitely wanted to single the wagons. In all honesty, we were extremely satisfied with the pool of applicants, which was surprising to us. The committee rallied around one individual, Diane Morabito. She lives in Linfield and is a certified public accountant, which Sharon really emphasized as those skill sets being welcome to her, because she could do a lot more backup work for Sharon. So we made an offer to Ms. Morabito, and we made a contingent upon the select board approving higher than a step 8. We are offering step 11. So in page 100 of the packet, you'll see the pay chart that the select board approved at the beginning of this fiscal year. So what we are requesting is approval to hire Ms. Diane at the same salary as what is budgeted for FY23 and what Andre was getting paid at his departure. So $99,626 per year. Any questions?
No, we need to pay, we need to pay what we need to pay to get good people on board. And the fact that we have to be proud of our rebound effect, I'd rather not have a rebound effect. I'd rather not have people leaving because they wanna get more pay. I'd rather them be here and be happy. But I'm excited, this looks good. Sorry. Chris?
Thanks, Sharon. Yeah, my question to Fidel when this came through was the vote unanimous? And it was, so as long as I know that and the amount is not changing, I don't see any issue with this. So,
Okay,
fully on board for her.
thank you. Jackie?
Yeah, no, I support Ms. Morabito's got a great resume, really good and varied background in corporate, nonprofit, looks like some consulting, so yeah. And just in time for budget season.
I know.
She's getting the ground running.
No, thank you. No issues. Good hire, and I fully support changing the pay grade, and I like the idea that Sean mentioned in the personnel policies that as much as we should know about it, but I think if the town manager is okay with offering a different pay scale, that we should trust that person going forward, and to fill the position that is highly needed, such as this one. Thank you.
I'd also like to thank you, Fidel, for sharing with the folks at home and with us the thorough process that you went through. I like the hiring committee, and so we think very highly of Sharon, so this is good.
Absolutely. Agree.
Okay, so do you need us to vote on this?
Yes.
Okay.
All set?
Yeah.
Move to vote to approve town manager's recommendation for treasurer candidate Diane Morabito to be hired at grade J, step 11.
May I have a second? Second. Thank you, Jackie. Any comments, board members? None appearing. So we need a roll call vote. So all those in favor? Carlo?
Yes.
Jackie? Yes. Chris?
Yes.
Karen? Yes. Great.
Welcome to Reading.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you. It's exciting. Okay, 8:20, housing plan discussion. Is that you?
Please,
You're
thank
up.
you. All right, thank you. I'll be quick. The Department of Housing and Community Development requires that we produce a housing production plan, and we update it every 5 years. So in your packet, starting on page 101, is the housing production plan from 2018. And if you read through it, it's quite interesting that some of the recommendations that are in the plan have been implemented or are in progress. So it's a very useful plan. In April town meeting, we requested funding from town meeting to update this plan. Julie Mercier, our community development director, is leading the charge. She's got a working group of quite a bit of staff, and we also have a consultant on board. We would like the select board to unofficially appoint someone, or maybe just seek a volunteer to be on this working group. It is going to be a process that has to be finalized in February. So it is going to be a quite a bit of work. It starts with a survey that is going to go out and is going to ask residents to answer questions about affordable housing, but also about housing in general. So if anyone on the select board is interested in volunteering for it, we would appreciate it.
Select board members?
Jackie?
I'd like to volunteer. I am interested in helping our town update this plan and in making sure that as we do this, that we're helping staff understand how this plan relates to other either state or local requirements.
Thank you. Does that work for you?
Mm-hmm.
How's that sound to you, Carlo? Carlo, did we lose you? Okay. Are we good? I think we're good. I think we're good.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for stepping up, Jackie. Thanks.
Sorry, I had to go blow my nose.
So Jackie volunteered to be the housing production plan liaison to the board or working group member, and you could arm wrestle her for it.
I'm feeling pretty weak right now, so I'm good, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
Okay, that's your update for tonight?
That's it.
That was quick.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. We are getting back on schedule. Okay, well, now it's the capital plan, which is a 7-page document in our packet. Okay, so tonight, as I said, Mark and I have had some conversations about how we might do things a little differently with the capital plan going forward. So it would be really great if we just deferred the process discussion to another night. But certainly this is a great time to talk about changes to the capital plan that, I know this is a living, breathing document. So let me open it up to the board for questions about the plan. Carlo? Just wanna make sure, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm here, I just, so going by what you said at the beginning of the meeting, that we're
Okay.
gonna wait for Mark.
Okay, I did see that the Parker roof is already in here, the 500,000, I didn't go through all the school stuff, so I don't know if the glycol request made it in here.
We are going to ask for it in April town meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, with and I know that Joe Huggins shared the reasons for the increase. The price of the actual liquid has gone up from $6 a gallon to like 20 something gallons. So it's pure material price. He's hoping that things go down a little bit.
I do remember him sharing that with the school committee, that
Yeah.
we can
Hopefully wait
make
till-
it.
Exactly.
Okay. So, one of the questions I had was, I was confused about the, project for Birch Meadow is on here as $10 million debt, phase 1. Versus being an ARPA funded item, and I just don't know that the select board's really had a chance to weigh in on that. Certainly that could be a possible way to fund it, I just don't know when that. The problem, the challenge we've had is sometimes well, so the process needs to be people weighing in about what's on the capital plan, and what's happened in the past is that things get on the capital plan without that input, so that's why I raised that particular question.
Yeah, I am hopeful that phase one is funded through ARPA.
Okay.
We've got a committee meeting tomorrow night, and I feel like there's a lot of support. We shared the updated drawings to the committee. I feel pretty good about the fact that phase one is going to be funded. Obviously, it will have to come to the select board for a final vote. We left that item off because basically phase one was projected to be funded in FY25, which actually is really good timing, because if we're able to fund phase one with ARPA, and we're teed up, if you will, for phase two in FY25, I mean, you know, we'll be able to get halfway done through this master plan by, say, FY26. So
Okay.
which would be transformational for our community.
So another item would be the RMHS field house floor and bleachers. I saw that there was a note in here that a safety concern has been raised. Do you happen to know where that came from?
Yeah, it's something that comes up quite a bit. It is currently slated for FY27 in our capital plan. You know, that's where the process of balancing all the priorities really come in, right? I mean, it's hard to fit everything in
And
at the same time.
and the supply chain issues continue. You know, Joe Huggins is going to the school committee, and again, you already know this, like the Parker roof is delayed again. So it's really hard to plan. I don't think we've ever had to deal with this as a community before. The issue is always we don't have the money, not the, oh, we have the money and we can't get the stuff. So, okay. I see the police projects on here. Yeah, so this is very comprehensive. It's 7 pages long, but okay, those were my main questions. I don't know if anybody has any others right now. Yep, okay.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, a couple things. To Fidel's point on ARPA, I believe 7 or 8 of the members all had Birch Meadow at like $1 million on their minimum kind of scale, so it's kind of trending that way, but you never know, and then obviously it has to come here next. I do see that the RISE playground design and playground improvements is on here for 23 and then 26. But with Kiln potentially taking RISE, I don't know that we should be spending any money on any of RISE. I mean, 12 grand is minimal, but still, like, it's going to be gone essentially, if things go a different direction, so.
So that's an FY23 and 26.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's a good
26
point.
is 140,
Yep.
which is,
It's in-
that's a hit, so.
Completely agree.
And then the parking garage study that Park had recommended, I don't see that on here, the feasibility study and whatnot.
We were hoping to go to town meeting and ask for that to be funded from free cash. We think we can get it done modestly for like $50,000. You know, that was our hope. Essentially, it's another study that you know, we were hoping to put just as a free cash request.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, thank you very much. You got another comment? Sorry, Jackie.
No, just a couple questions. First, on our packet, page 164, under administrative services, just out of curiosity, the $15,000 in yellow for internal segmentation firewall, is that some sort of like IT based? Okay,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yes.
Didn't know the jargon, figured it was part of that.
Okay, I have one more
But that-
comment. I
and
made
then-
it, oh,
And sorry, and then moving on to page 165, so the section in the middle, asterisks indicate bond bill details. I see there's a few items across parks and, you know, public lands. Is that and I'm new to the process, is that something that in September, when we get updated numbers from the state, gets confirmed, or how does that? What are sort of the next steps with the state bond bill details, I guess I'm asking?
Yeah, these are identified as requests that we are gonna be making, essentially, so it's
A future.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly, that
Got
it's a placeholder, essentially. I mean, if you recall, we got $25,000 in the budget process to rebuild the rock wall at Washington Park. So it's essentially a kind of doing a placeholder for
Okay.
Yeah.
Future,
for
okay,
future requests.
okay, that's all I had, thanks.
Okay, yeah, one more note, it's not on the capital plan at the moment, was that when we do get the roofs finished, we have the opportunity to implement municipal solar. Would it make sense to consider putting it on in there as a placeholder, even if it has to be way out?
So we
Thoughts on that?
my thoughts is absolutely yes, let's do it. But we in speaking with Greg Phipps and RMLD, we think that we can be creative on funding and possibly not require any town funds. And of course, you know, it's a preliminary at this point, but what we're thinking is that if RMLD implements it as a regional generation project, right? So it wouldn't be savings directly to that building, but it would be essentially as a regional generation facility. They can tap into a lot more funding than we can.
Okay.
So, but the for that roof and for all roofs going forward, we are having the conversation of having it be prepped for solar panels.
Okay.
Hopefully at no cost to us.
I love RMLD, and thank you very much for working so hard in that relationship. Thank you.
Do you agree? Okay, all right, thank you. Let's see, okay, so next, 8:40, discussion on proposed polystyrene bylaw. And we've had two members of the Reading Climate Advisory Committee join us this evening.
David Zeek, Climate Advisory Committee, also with us tonight. Again, Piliofsky is also a Climate Advisory Committee member.
Thank you for being patient.
Speak a little bit in a little while here,
You want the PowerPoint on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have the slides from. So,
Caitlin, if you don't mind. Thank you.
the Climate Advisory Committee is recommending that, sort of as our next step in trying to reduce plastic and reduce, single-use items in general, and some of the things that just get used once in trash, that the Reading adopt a bylaw to ban polystyrene single-use plastic items. Now, I'll go through this to explain what that means. Who does it affect? What's out? What's in? What's the alternatives? And for the select board, what this means is we're asking that you would endorse this bylaw and put it on the agenda for town meeting. So warrant for town meeting, because this, as a bylaw, of course, it would have to be approved by town meeting. You can go to that next slide, Caitlin. This is going to be pretty small one. All right. So this is I always have trouble with this discussion because I have to start in 3 different areas all at the same time or something. And so I want to point it out this way. So this slide gives you most of the first paragraph up to that period is the actual regulation, and we'll come back to that's actually the whole regulation part of it, which says that food establishments within a town shall be prohibited from using or distributing disposable food service containers made from foam, polystyrene, or rigid polystyrene, or polystyrene cutlery, or other polystyrene single-use disposable products. So polystyrene is a particular kind of plastic, and we'll talk about that. There are several kinds of plastic. This is one, and we'll talk about why that matters. And there are two forms. Listed there. The rigid form is used for clear food containers. So if you have a clear bowl cup, food container of any kind, it could be. It doesn't have to be, but it might be polystyrene. Also, the foam form, which is worse problem, like styrofoam, is a different version of polystyrene. So these are all, and they're used for shows what they're also showed up. The foam form is used for again for plates, for cups, bowls, and clamshell foods containers and so forth. So what isn't this bylaw? That's because there's a line here that we're going to talk about items that are distributed at food establishments. What is not affected, and so we're not talking about service items that are not polystyrene, that might be plastic, other kinds of plastic. We are not talking about items that are offered for sale in bulk, and this is a distinction compared to some of the laws that municipalities have adopted, where they actually ban the sale of polystyrene items. We're not proposing to do that. So that means is you can buy these items as a resident. You can go to your picnic section and you may be able to find these items there, or a lot of different places, and so you may be able to find them at Home Depot, Home Goods, or a party store, or whatever. There will be items, forks and containers and cups and so on and so forth. Might or might not be polystyrene, but this bylaw doesn't address that and doesn't ban it, and so that's an important distinction that I want to make very clear about that, because as I said, some bylaws do, some other towns do go further than that. So the next slide. What's the problem with polystyrene? So polystyrene is it's based on a neurotoxin and probably carcinogenic. It's the only plastic that is used in food packaging that's based on a carcinogen, and the styrene and the polystyrene can actually leach out of the plastic, and it does that in heat, and it does that in the presence of certain kind of foods, certain alcohols, oils, or fats. This makes it different from other plastics, and it's a health hazard. It's of course a health hazard to wildlife. The foam form in particular, as you know, right, crumbles away to nothing, but actually all plastic ultimately crumbles away to nothing. And there's a very similar problem with other plastics, but it's worse with polystyrene, and it's worse with the foam version. It's not biodegradable. It fragments as other plastics do, just from mechanical action and breaking down, and it breaks down some in the presence of light, and it takes about 200 years to do. So it's not going away. Once it's in the environment, it's gonna stay there. And polystyrene is almost never recycled because it has no value. The foam form is not even accepted in the recycling. I mean, we have a styrofoam recycling, bin over there at DPW, but you can't put it on the curb, and the kinds of things we are talking about, which are food containers,
They won't take them.
nobody's going to take
They
those
won't take them.
anyway. And the rigid form, when it is collected, is never recycled. So there's this stuff just really has no residual value. Next one, Caitlin. So these are examples of polystyrene products, and they look familiar. Looking at some, you can see that some of those are styrofoam. That's pretty obvious. The other kinds, so this is plastic number 6 that we're talking about, and you may not be able to tell by looking at it what's plastic number 6, what's plastic number 1, but we're just talking about a particular kind of plastic. But this is where you would see it used, and so these are things that when you go into a restaurant, you're going to take some food home. You get some kind of a package to take it home, or some restaurants they just serve you food, in plastic cups or styrofoam cups, Actually, lots of restaurants are moving away from this, but this just sort of focuses on this one type. Next one, Caitlin. So what's the alternative? Well, if there are paper and cardboard containers for the same purpose, to hold food, paper cups, so forth. There are foil pans, various plant-based materials, compostable containers. All of those things are actually preferred because they're all compostable and they can all go in the recycle if they're clean. But then there are other types of plastics. So this is just listing some of the others. Polyethylene, the number one is and number two are commonly recycled. Number one is polyethylene, and number 5 is polypropylene. I'll show you some examples of these products and those plastics later, just to see how similar they are. So there are a lot of different options here for any kind of a food establishment to consider using. They're not that scarce and rare, but I think we do have to kind of be sensitive in this particular day and age about supply chain problems. So what I'm saying is there are a lot of different options for them to look at. The next one, Caitlin. So there are 47 municipalities that already have these bylaws. They kind of vary, as I said. Some actually ban the sale of polystyrene. Some really just, the very earliest ones only looked at styrofoam and so forth. We looked at several and we took a lot of the language from Arlington. We really liked Arlington. Arlington had some fairly elaborate statements and listed things that made sense to us. So a lot of the language, maybe most of the language in our bylaw is really just copied out of Arlington's. Right. The next one. Right. The next, excuse me. The next 4 slides are directly out of the bylaw itself. So these are just verbatim. Okay. We've got 3 definitions, and the regulation comes back. So first of all, what is polystyrene? As I mentioned, there's 2 forms. There's the foam, extruded foam form, like styrofoam, and it's here in the bylaw. It's called foam polystyrene, and it's used to make the usual things, cups, bowls, plates, trays, containers, meat trays, eggs, cartons, and so forth. And then there's the clear form, which is sometimes known as oriented, but in this bylaw it's called rigid polystyrene. And this is usually this is made to make plastics, solid plastics that are transparent. So they're the clear ones. And it's anything that this polystyrene is the number 6 plastic. The next one. So food establishments is pretty broad. Any operation that stores, prepares, packages, serves, vends, or provides food for human consumption, including restaurants, mobile food vendors, caterers, residential kitchen operators, schools, farmers markets, public venues, and anybody who has to get a permit from the state for food, providing food. And public venues then is defined as kind of all the major kind of things we would see in town: churches, the town office, the senior center, the recreation department, the library, the public schools, and so forth. So this is a rule that would apply to anybody who's providing food. So this is focusing on things that you would either be given in lieu of, say, metal utensils or a reusable cup or reusable utensils, or things that you're given to take home. If you're getting carry out, you're going to get these kind of utensils. And so this is addressing things that are used once and thrown away, or you get plastic forks at the restaurant, and then you go home and you dig the silverware out of your drawer. That's what's better, right? So it's a lot of stuff that gets wasted and often not used. And if it does get used, it's generally used once. You could reuse it if you want to figure out how to do that, wash it and everything. But typically it just goes in the trash. as soon as it's used. And we're trying to get rid of, kind of like the checkout bag, you know, things that are used once and tossed are things that we want to discourage. All right, the next one, Caitlin. Food service containers. So this is single-use disposable products for serving and consuming and transporting food and beverages, including but not limited to takeout and leftovers. And then it's the list of things. You know, it's the clamshells, the plates, the bowls, trays, the straws, cups, lids, and cutlery, anything that's single-use and disposable. And then the next one, Caitlin, is and then this is the regulation. This is the whole regulation. Food establishments within the town shall be prohibited from using or distributing disposable food service containers made from foam, polystyrene, or rigid polystyrene, or the cutlery or other single-use disposable items. What it does not cover, and I guess I may not have mentioned that earlier, things that come prepackaged to the whatever the food vendor is. So I mean, if they're buying foods and it comes in these packages, that's the way they buy it. We're not asking anybody to like unpack the food and repack it in something else. That would be ridiculous. But if that's what we're getting, then we're not going to worry about that. We're talking about a stack of clamshell, you know, food containers that are being handed out to people as they take their leftovers out the door, kind of thing. This is where we're focusing. All right. Then the next one is the enforcement. This would be enforced through the health department, and they would do that as part of their normal visits and checkups, since they visit all these food establishments anyway. And that's one of the reasons why we are not asking to constrain sale, because they're not going to the party store and they're not and
Basket sells the stuff.
yeah, I mean this is about so we have some dichotomy, right? Like at the grocery store, we don't want them to use these polystyrene food items at the salad bar. But if you go over to aisle 2, you may be able to get some picnic plates. You know, I mean, so it's the packaged stuff. But you know, the most of these things that you end up with are coming out of restaurants. You're not really going to buy these things at the store very much. Right? Okay, the next 3 slides really are just examples. So this one you've seen, the polystyrene products. Next slide. So these are alternatives: paper products, foil products. These are examples. And then the next slide. So here's some polyethylene and polypropylene, you know, food service items that are made from other plastics. They look pretty similar. There are a couple kinds. If you know, there are some forks. If you have a bendy fork, that's not polystyrene. You know, if it's a brittle, you know, if you can cut meat with it, it's probably polystyrene. You know, but otherwise it's something else. So there are a lot of alternatives. So that's it. I guess, do you want to add anything? Get it?
Well, so outside of the outreach that we continue to do.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
We have a slide ready for that. Okay, let's stand at the podium.
Yes, please.
Hi, Gennady Bilowski, 3 Paramount Avenue. So we also would like to engage with the community and the food vendors by hosting open forum, be it here, the town hall, or the library, wherever the place is available, where we could have a discussion about this this bylaw that we're proposing and how to ease the transition for everyone. That's about it.
So you'd outreach to businesses like restaurants and
Yes. So our
As
goal
well as
is to
residents.
our goal is to outreach to do outreach in the next couple of weeks before the town meeting actually meets. We just wanted to start the process here.
Okay, and before I open it up to questions from board members, so every time we have to do a bylaw, we need to go and visit certain people. So can you give us an update on who this has been reviewed for by and what's coming?
So we've been to the health committee, and they're on board with it. We're going to the bylaw committee on the 7th.
7th.
I'll be meeting with the school, including their new, like you said, they got a new food service director that starts next week, but is actually around this week. Excuse me. So that will be in the next few days. And then, like I said, we're planning to have a virtual hearing on the 12th of October, which is one of our meetings, and we're planning to have a public face-to-face hearing. Date hasn't been set, but shortly after that, so there'll be a couple of different public hearings. We've talked to Andrew about, making the connections with the businesses in town, make sure that they know about these hearings and that they understand what we're doing, so we can make that connection.
Andrew is our sustainability director, yes?
Yes, Andrew Nichols.
And how about, has legal seen it yet?
No.
Town council.
I didn't hear back from that.
She's seen it, they are reviewing it right now, they will provide feedback by this Friday.
Okay.
Now, this bylaw, pretty much copies the checkout bag bylaw, so I'm not expecting brief from legal or the bylaw committee but I think that makes it less likely to be a problem.
That's a smart way to do it. Okay, did I forget anybody that needs to review it at all? I can tell you that earlier tonight in my notes, so you're kind of in alignment with the schools. They've just hired a food service director. That one of their claims to fame was in Brookline, she eliminated single-use items from the process, so you should have a good conversation with her.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if the school would be more aggressive than this, not just worry about polystyrene, but worry about single-use items. That would be terrific.
That's right, that's a broader category, right? Okay, I'll open up to the board. What questions do you have? Chris?
Thanks, Karen. I'll preface this by saying that my condo recently got rid of their recycling container because it became too expensive. And I argued against the removal of it. Unfortunately, I lost. But still, they removed it because the cost was, it outweighed what they would be able to afford, etc. So believe me, I'm all on board with saving the environment, using other alternatives, etc. But having said that, I gotta say that this is a strong ask for every single business in town that is gonna get completely wrecked by this. The amount of money, the cost of alternatives sometimes are 5 times more than just polystyrene themselves. So, I mean, I can see if the town was willing to change over to not use polystyrene, etc., but just putting it on the businesses. I know you haven't done any outreach yet. I'll give you your first one that you can use is I got food today from a restaurant, and on the wall posted is, unfortunately, they had to raise the prices across the board. Either that or they were going to be closing their doors. So walking into them and telling them about all of this for their containers that I know 100% they use, they're going to be on the hook for. I am not about to saddle a long-standing Reading business with doing something like this. I'd be all for moving it to town meeting because once again, 192 people are going to make this decision. But I mean, the way that this stands now, I am wholeheartedly against it, against all of these businesses that are going to suffer because of it. It couldn't come at a worse time. I know there's no other convenient times when this kind of stuff can go. And I do have to say, it's typically with me, it's all or nothing. So if you were to put this ban out, it should be a complete ban across the entire board. If it's about health reasons or about the recycling, etc., I don't know why Market Basket, Stop and Shop, etc., get exempted from this. Because of all of their chicken and hamburg and all the other stuff that you buy over there, that's all using polystyrene. So they're exempt, except the people out here on all of Main Street are not. I don't understand it. For me, it's all or nothing. So I think that, I don't know how far along you're in the process, but it should be either an all-out ban or not. I don't know why would you have to go through it? Is there a reason? Like, I know it's kind of to ease people in, I understand that, but if it's about health, like, people are still buying their hamburger on polystyrene. If it's about food waste and whatnot, you can still go ahead and go into Staples and Home Depot and buy all this stuff. Why is that okay?
You're talking about so things that where they would package would not be allowed to be in polystyrene. So if they're providing the produce,
Mhm.
the meat, whatever, then they would not be able to use the polystyrene if they bought it that way. You know, so if, for example, if you had like an assortment of vegetables in those little plastic assortment containers, if they made it, they would have to use a container that was not polystyrene. If they bought it that way, then we're not gonna have them empty that out and put it in a different package, right? So that's why.
But I guess it comes back to what are we attempting to accomplish? Just the recycling aspect and just keeping it out of the landfill 200 years, that's how long it takes to break down? Like,
It's a carcinogen.
That's correct.
I understand that, but like, if it's a carcinogen, that I can still go into Stop and Shop and get my food with it, because that's the way that it came. It shouldn't be allowed to be like that. To me, it should be all or nothing. If you wanna stop carcinogens and everything else that's going on and landfill stuff and everything, you have to go all in. Otherwise, you're only half enforcing it. The plastic bag ban and all that stuff that went in a couple of years back and whatnot, is in effect, but I can tell you that it is not in effect. There are numerous places in Reading that are still using plastic bags. What's the point of just, it's,
Alright, maybe let's hear from other board members too, and you don't
I
have
under-
to be convinced tonight, we're just, it's a discussion item, we don't have to vote on this tonight, but.
I'm just
Okay. I
providing
hear your
David
concerns.
with significant feedback, because I'd like to think that the pushback from these businesses is going to be significant. You know what I mean? It's
Okay,
just.
well, we'll know before, the good news about this is we'll know before town meeting, and they'll have a chance to investigate some of your concerns and, okay, well, but what do other board members have to say? Jackie, Carla?
I'll let Jackie go first.
Okay, thanks. Just a few questions. On, David, toward the beginning of your presentation, which is page 170 in the packet, you had mentioned, with respect to rigid polystyrene, that some of the clear containers are rigid polystyrene, but some are not. And
Right.
like, just as a, everyday consumer of these establishments, the first thing that comes to mind are like the plastic beverage cups.
Mhm.
So are you saying, and I'm just understanding this, that unless we would be prohibiting the plastic beverage cups and containers that are that PS6, but we would be allowing these other forms that you showed in a later slide?
Yes, for example, on the screen right there, all those would be allowed.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just another question, moving ahead to page 188 in the packet, I assume that's the Arlington, is that the Arlington regulation? As just,
I'm not sure what, I don't have the packet in front of me, is there?
so it's section 8:1, regulation of polystyrene and disposable food service containers, and it goes through a bylaw. Is that from
That's the
Arlington?
proposed.
Okay,
That is what the committee is proposing in Reading. I don't know, did you get that from somewhere, Mr. Seek, or?
You talking about the enforcement part?
no, I'm just talking about the bylaw, the proposed bylaw as a whole. I guess I'd just be curious as to whether that's.
Is that the one that says
So
47
it's
on it?
it's in the, on the pages that have the definitions, a lot of that language is from the Arlington.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious about that. And then, let me just, I know you asked this already, but when I first saw this at the Board of Health at your presentation a few weeks ago, I had also thought about what's the town's position legally with respect to authority to enact these bans. I wasn't on the board for the plastic bag ban, but I see that I don't believe we have a law in the state that, obviously that bans it outright, but that it's up to cities and towns. I think that's something, that it sounds like we're with IVRIA's council helping to untangle.
Yeah, and I would then point to the 47 that do exist already.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Now, you as you know, I mean, any bylaw has to be reviewed and approved by the state, right?
Yes. Okay. I appreciate the opportunity to hear this again. I'd be very interested at some point, either before the outreach meeting or at town meeting, to hear a little more about cost comparisons. Cause I'm not in a position to buy these in bulk and don't know, so it would be helpful to have some of that data, but that's all I have.
Yeah, the only data that I have seen on cost, and I guess we need to go look for some more.
Yeah.
There was like a penny more or less difference between, say, what a polystyrene cup costs and what, say, a polyethylene cup costs. I never see any dramatic difference in cost between those different kinds.
I think you presenting that data would be very helpful, right? Because the I think the concern is putting more burden on small businesses, right? So if I think if you can share that data and if it is true that like per unit it when purchased within reason, right? It is nominal increase as in 1 penny more, then it's it will be helpful to I think also getting the small business owners to support this and maybe provide some testimonials maybe would be helpful too.
We talked about that maybe at your climate advisory committee, like in other communities, like if a vendor could maybe come to that outreach and say, here's how it worked for us, and here's it might address some of your concerns as well, somebody who's lived through changes like this.
Yeah. So one of the comments at the health department was, I never see these. The restaurants I go to don't use the polystyrene ones. They use other things. They use the other plastics or something. So I think that's, I think most people don't know, right? And how would you know, or why would you know?
Now I'm looking for the sixes. I didn't know it was a carcinogen, and I didn't know it was it was never recycled, so now I know. So I don't wanna ignore Carlo just because he's on remote. Did you get all your questions?
Yes.
Okay. Carlo, did you have comments or questions?
Yeah, please, thank you. Excuse me. As a business owner, I don't like the word ban on anything, on a personal note, but my brother in a different town is currently in the fast food, predominantly takeout industry. Not only is this the worst timing possible in history, everything that we touch in our establishment has gone up. 5%, 10%, 20%, 50%. And out of all those items, packaging is the biggest problem. As far as cost, and as far as getting it in. And sometimes you'll have to switch to an alternative just because of supply. And the cost might go up just because of that, but you need takeout containers. So I wish you did your outreach first to see if this is a problem in Reading. But the financial burdens are many for small business owners, and as a board, we have many other things to address in the future with the split tax, the bid, the CPA. So for me, I agree with my colleagues that some more work needs to be done. And unfortunately, when we go to town meeting, a lot of these business owners might not live in town. Yes, they can reach out to town meeting members, but that's not the same. I'm guessing they'd be allowed to speak if this became a really big topic. I'm hoping the Board of Health is correct that number 6 is not being used widespread or hardly being used at all, but I guess, before even initiating this, I wish there was some outreach before. I mean, just the banning of menthol cigarettes by the state decimated convenience stores. All their sales went down just for that one item, one particular item. So I don't like banning anything. Let the consumers choose. Let the business owners can choose where they want to shop and go out to eat. But I applaud the effort. Don't get me wrong. I noticed the word, it says probable carcinogen. So I don't know I know what probable means, but the fact that it's probable to me doesn't say 100%. But that's just a side note. So I like the work going on, but takeout has grown exponentially during COVID and continues to do so. So, if this was in front of me now to vote on at town meeting or on this board, I would vote no, 100%, until more research is done. But very bad timing for this, very bad timing, unfortunately. And like Chris said, there's no good timing to ban anything, but this is the worst possible time. I mean, the burden that small business owners have is the average person doesn't know. Staff shortages, I mean, people, it's just incredible, closing early, not being able to open. I have so many colleagues that are struggling just to stay open, to staff. And I'm sure a lot of you see it on social media who are not small business owners or see it in the news. So I would like this pause, to be honest with you, and 2023 is not going to be any better, to be honest with you. But that's just my 2 cents. And, I know a lot of work went into this, but to reach out to food service vendors, suppliers, is going to be difficult. I mean, the restaurant owners are going to have to give you their numbers. And you're going to have to call Cisco, Gordon Foods, US Foods, Performance Food Group. You're going to have to call all these people and get their prices. So it can be done, but it's a lot of work and a lot to ask. These small business owners are busy enough as it is, and you want to ask them to come to a night meeting? Great. What if one of them shows up and that's it? You need to go to them if you want to ban something. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carlo. So can I just ask a clarifying question? You mentioned your brother-in-law is in the food service industry. Is his business in one of these towns that's already taken action on this item?
I didn't see it on the list, no.
Okay. All right, so I don't think anybody would argue with the inflation that's going on. Okay, I don't necessarily think that, this is a committee that we created to advise us, and I don't necessarily agree that coming to us first was a bad thing. And actually they're doing multiple things at once. They didn't come to us first, they actually went to the Board of Health first. So, these processes have many tentacles, so. So the other night at the Reading Climate Advisory Committee, so that's the thing, and I'm also hearing a lot of unknown from people, and I have to say that I look at some of these items and I don't know whether what I'm seeing in the stores is a 6 today or not a 6 and just a look-alike. So you made a comment the other night at the Reading Climate Advisory Committee about being a takeout expert. Like, can you just share what you're seeing? You're not the person on the Board of Health, you'd be a different person. I just think we need to hear more on this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Similar to other comments. So similarly to comments that were made by other individuals, I have a hard time picturing what it looks like, and I have a hard time picturing when the last time was that I actually picked up a container that was made out of this plastic. A lot of, I don't want to say a lot because that's a generalization, but the places that I've procured food in Reading use things like paper to wrap up their sandwiches, or Tupperware that I know isn't this for their product. contracts. So I can't think of a place that does have this type of container. And Carlin brought up an interesting point in terms of engagement, which I appreciate. I'm happy to take some time on my own and walk downtown and engage different food establishments. It's a good start. I've already compiled a list of different establishments, not just downtown, but throughout Reading that I know serves food with their phone numbers. So I just reach out to them.
This is your unofficial research.
Yes. And in addition to that, I'm more than happy to walk around downtown or visit any other location if the conversation either doesn't happen on the phone or if we want to carry on that conversation in person.
And I think, David, you expressed to us earlier that our sustainability director is willing to help do outreach to some of these businesses as well. I think that's important. And the other thing that at our meeting that the Climate Advisory Committee that we discussed, and Fidel, I think you brought it up as well, is giving businesses a lead time. So let's just walk through. So we're starting this process now, and it's August. So it's an educational process for everybody understanding the issue and doing the outreach. By the time we get to town meeting, a lot of businesses will kind of be aware that it would be coming. And let's say, we have a lot more information, and let's say town meeting says yes in November, then what happens to the bylaw is that it needs to go up to the State House, and that is not a fast process, right? That's going to be, we're gonna give it to them sometime after January 1, and usually by March, they're gonna tell us whether it's okay or not, and then we would put it into practice. So being a small business owner myself, so that is a pretty long runway, gauging the extent. If this is not gonna be if they're using 6s for everything today, then that's gonna be a bigger problem for some businesses. If they're already starting to phase them out because they are buying what's affordable or what's available, and they haven't stockpiled 10 years worth of stuff, it may not be. I remember the plastic bag's a great example. That seemed like a big deal to me. And Carlo, I also agree with your point about ban. When I saw ban, that's scary, but after I dove into it and I understood that it's a limited restriction, it's a step in the right direction, then I felt more comfortable. But I just wanted to share that relatively long runway, because it is important to give our businesses as much chance as possible. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Erin. Yeah, just to follow up on that, the wholesale cost that I'm seeing is sometimes 5 times more. So it depends on what people are currently getting. I'm not in the food industry, but that's what I'm seeing. And then I will offline, I'll send you an email, David, where I had lunch today out of that container. And depending on when I get out of this meeting tonight, I may or may not be also having something that is on that list as well. And I will give you that so you can reach out to them to see.
Any other questions? Thank you for doing all this work. This has been an educational process.
Well, thank you.
And my husband buys styrofoam cups. So I have a lot of them. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I apologize, we are running late. We are ready for our 9 o'clock discussion on the town manager. Okay, so in the packet.
Yeah, so Caitlin, if you could pull up the what I added, just to remind everyone, so in my employment contract, essentially there are milestones that were incorporated into that contract. The 6-month milestone is just to provide feedback and direction. The big milestone is going to be the 12-month milestone that involves a 360 process, which basically requires the board to get feedback through staff. So it essentially through our human resources department, from the chief of police, chief of fire, our superintendent, and I believe 5 other staff. So that process will start probably after town meeting. That 12-month process has to be done before February 14th of 2023. So, in my employment contract, I see this as a check-in, if you will, right? I mean, obviously, I feel that I have a really good relationship with the board, and I do get check-ins and feedback on a regular basis. But this is more of an official check-in. What I threw into the packet is essentially the presentation that I made on April 19th in your meeting, and slide 2, right? I mean, the employment contract essentially tells me that I needed to come up with goals, right? I do believe that goals are aspirational, not operational. So the goals that I established on slide 3, are the same goals that I think I will have throughout my tenure here in Reading, and it's 4 of them. One is the first one is earning the trust of staff and the community. Our second one is supporting our schools. Our third one is economic development, and the fourth one is supporting our infrastructure. So the remainder of the slides, I mean, it has more details on how to do that. I think that in the past 6 months, I've made these 4 areas my priorities, and with infrastructure, with schools, with economic development, and with earning the trust of staff in the community, I firmly believe in a hands-on approach, and in leading from the front. So I have been involved, in meet and greets with our businesses in the downtown, with submitting grant programs, with taking a lead role in the Kiln school process. So yeah, I mean, just any feedback is welcome from the select board.
Board members, you wanna go first?
Sure, thank you, Mary. Well, I'm not sure where to start, Fidel, so I'll just start at the beginning.
All right, well, we wanna get out of
Let's start
here.
Yeah, I have food to eat out of a
There you
number 6
go,
container.
okay.
I should be having a salad, but I like I said during the town manager selection thing back in the day and now, if you can continue Bob's financial acumen coupled with your community outreach, you will be a force to be reckoned with. You and Dr. Milichevsky are exactly what Reading needs right now, and I mean, I haven't heard a negative thing from anybody. So, I mean, that's it, period, end of sentence.
There you go.
You can put up 85 more slides all you want, and that's all that matters.
Very good. Jackie, Carlo?
Thank you. Yeah, everyone I've spoken to, or anyone that's, met Fidel, it's 2 thumbs up, 10 thumbs up. He's brought a lot of energy to the town, and he's, getting a lot of things done. And, it's great to work with him, and I'm sure that goes the same for town staff. So, going forward, I'm hoping you can, keep this pace up without burning out. It's only one of my main concern of you as a town manager, other town managers. I've heard from the consultant many months ago about how many are leaving the profession or retiring. A lot of it's due to burnout. So I hope you can keep that in check, and it seems like you are. But things are going right now. Nothing's perfect, as we know, but acknowledging what can be done better is always a positive thing, and I couldn't be happier. Thank you.
Thank you.
So to echo what Carlos said, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and Fidel is still in the Hopkinton days. We hope of his long tenure here, to think back over the past 6 months and your outreach across departments and across the community is fantastic, and your collaboration across departments as well, I think will benefit all of us. So nothing else from me.
Okay, great presentation. Thank you very much. Just the right level of information, I think. You've been listening to us, which is important. You've been listening to the community, which is important. You've been extremely visible, which is something we were looking for in a town manager, and I do hope you can keep the pace. And I think you've gained the trust of staff, and you've been through one town meeting, so now you just have to do the budget, go through the budget cycle. I appreciate the work you've put into the relationship building, not only with staff, but with RMLD and the schools. This has to be a very collaborative environment. And thank you specifically for the emphasis and the continued emphasis. Oh, I should also, the relationship with our legislators as well. It's very visible, it's frequent. And there is a nonstop, for people that aren't getting select board emails, there is a nonstop flow of communication that we are getting from Fidel, and he can't possibly tell us everything, and we have a hard time keeping up with the emails. But it's been a great level, and the website communication, that has been very good too. It's been an increase in communication of all forms. And then my favorite is the amazing performance on grants, which was like a huge factor in the hiring process. We wanted to hire someone who is willing and able to go find the money. And it's been amazing, and congratulations on the MVP grant that we were awarded tonight, and I know more good things are coming down the pike, so I'm very happy at this check-in point.
Thank you.
Any questions for us?
Not at all. Thank you.
I'm sorry Mark wasn't able to be here. I know he would have positive things to say as well. Okay, super. We are gonna defer the discussion on summer select board retreat and schedule fall retreat. So we can move on to VAST report and vote on volunteer appointments. Jackie and Chris.
You wanna go first, Jackie, or in unison?
Sure, I'll give a description and then you can feel free to add and refine. So Chris and I had an opportunity at, I believe, 2 occasions this month to interview additional board and committee volunteer applicants. So we interviewed 3 for the first time. First, Ms. Sally Hilgendorf for the Board of Cemetery Trustees, Mr. William Hughes for Town Forest, Ms. Anna Rice for the Cultural Council, and then we re-interviewed Mr. Walter Talbot for the Climate Advisory Committee because there was a Climate Advisory Committee member who resigned after our June meeting, as Chris reminded me last week. So across the board, they are well qualified with backgrounds that I think would benefit these boards and committees. And I should have said this earlier, but we still have a number of board and committee vacancies. So I implore anyone who's watching to take a look at those. There's always opportunities to serve, and I can speak from personal experience, very rewarding. So I wholeheartedly endorse these 4 candidates. And I enjoyed working with Chris on this, and I hope we'll get an opportunity to meet again to consider more volunteers who come forward.
Thank you. Great.
Definitely. It was great working with Jackie. and just seeing all the different volunteers that just one after another, I'll just pick on Sally just for this example, is that why would someone want to be on the board of cemetery trustees? Like, nobody thinks that this is just some fun thing that, you know, they get to spend Tuesday nights every other week. But like, why would anybody want to be on the board of cemetery trustees? And Sally Hilgendorf was born to be on the board of cemetery trustees. To be able to find that in Reading is just crazy. And she was very passionate about cemeteries and everything else growing up, etc. I shared the same stories because I grew up in Everett, and Woodlawn Cemetery was over there. My mom learned to drive a Standard and the whole thing. But Sally was just a shining example of that. Someone like this just lives in Reading. Super good interview. Was interviewing me before Jackie got there. Like, just very personable, and it's good to see that these kind of people are applying, and hopefully more do. And then obviously Walter Talbot, him and I spoke also at the RMLD electric car show and whatnot. And you know, he's very passionate about the climate and EV vehicles and all that. So, but yeah, all in all, there's definitely lots of more openings, and Jackie and myself will make our calendars free for anybody else that applies in the future.
So you, just to be clear, you guys are in agreement and you recommend the select board appoint all of these folks?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Carla, do you have comments?
No, I don't, thank you.
Okay, I was, I'll just say that I was also really impressed by the caliber of the volunteers we have in Reading, willing to serve, and yes, Sally has a very, very interesting background, but they're all extremely well qualified, and Walter has been, I'm glad he wants to continue to step up on the Reading Climate Committee, so I guess we could entertain a motion.
Move to appoint Sally Hilgendorf to the associate position on the Board of Cemetery Trustees with the term expiring June 30th, 2024. Should I do these as separate or all in one? Move to appoint.
How about move to appoint the following, and yeah, feel free to read them all.
As well as appointing William Hughes to an associate position on the Town Forest Committee with the term expiring June 30th, 2024. In addition, Anna McKee Rice to an associate position on the Cultural Council with the term expiring June 30th, 2024. And finally, to appoint Walter Talbot to a full position on the Climate Advisory Committee with a term expiring June 30th, 2023.
Okay, could I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jackie. Any discussion? Not appearing, we can do a roll call vote. Carlo?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And Karen, yes. Good work, guys.
We did the easy work. It's all of them volunteering that.
You're up again. Are you up again?
Sure,
Next item,
I'll take it.
sorry,
Yeah, I'll
discuss
take it.
town master
Absolutely.
plan.
Oh, no, I think we should table that one for whenever Mark Duxer's able to come back.
Oh, okay. If you're all in agreement with that, I would be happy to table that as well. Okay, defer. Okay, thanks. Missed that one.
I
Okay,
will take the next one and
all right, thank you.
we're back on schedule,
Okay,
9:45.
amazing. That's good. Mark, I love Mark, and he loves ambitious agendas.
So I confirmed with our state legislators, Minority Leader Brad Jones, State Rep Rich Haggerty, and our Senator Jason Lewis, that they will be coming to our September 13th meeting. I think it would be, smart of us to put it at the top of the agenda, but they wanted to know essentially what is, what information do we want them to present on? And like what specific questions we have for them.
Anybody have any immediate thoughts? I have one I am happy to share. Go ahead.
My immediate thought would be kind of the update on the economic development bill, especially because that seems to be the primary vehicle for a lot of our remaining items of interest. And, I know this is maybe more speculative on their part, but there will be a new legislative session starting in January. And so do they see any, we're, pre-election and not asking them to prejudge anything, but, do they see any kind of structural changes, especially in light of the fact that we will have a new governor? That's all.
Okay, Carlo?
No, thank you. I think, what Jackie said is great, and I guess, I honestly can't remember if we've already addressed this, but I know the state has a massive surplus in some areas, and I don't know if a particular portion of that is gonna be divided by 351, or do we have to ask for specific monies? I know, there's stuff earmarked always for Reading through Brad Jones and Haggerty and Mr. Lewis, but I guess if there's a big ask that we need after the ARPA money is spent, again, I don't know what the number was of the surplus or that will be allocated to the cities and towns, but that'd be good to know. And that's it. Thanks for now.
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay, those are great questions. What I was to piggyback on Carlo, was the surplus you were thinking of just revenue surplus or also like the $5 billion of ARPA funds? We just make sure we ask about both.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Actually, both.
Okay.
There's this revenue surplus, then there's the federal side, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay. Yep, I'm in agreement. So when they were here for the Lafayette tour, I made sure to, just our two reps. Our reps were here, I made sure to point out the Walgreens was right there and that we had received a response to our request for lease options. So I don't know if we'll be any further along. Could we bring up that topic for discussion, that is looking like an interesting, very realistic opportunity?
Just to point out that in the economic development bill, as it was presented before the election expired, there was a $1 million earmark
That's right.
towards the purchase of towards the development of a senior center in Reading. Obviously,
Okay, so
that's a
why don't
limbo
we,
now,
why don't
but-
we make sure that's like a specific, okay, we could bring that up. We can give them an update on where we are and it's still a high priority item. I was wondering, I keep wondering about things like, I would love to get the school committee engaged with them as well. I know the superintendent's already begun, because that field house, that's a huge ask, the field house, bleachers and floors, so, maybe that's too much to tackle now. We could bring it up. I'm thinking, would Tom like to join us and bring it up, or just when are they coming?
September 13th.
Okay. We still have time on that, but that might be another thing that I don't know what we're gonna do with that, and we're looking at some pretty big school expenditures in the next 3.5 years. Okay. Awesome. Okay, future agenda items?
So on the 13th, we have a couple already. Obviously, we will have the state delegation coming. We will hear a vote hopefully on the select board. On the personnel policies.
Okay.
I think there were a couple more. And we tabled a couple of items, obviously, that.
So tonight
I'll just
we
move.
tabled capital plan process discussion, the select board retreat and schedule fall retreat, and the town master plan. And we also had I think you were ready to present some VASC policy updates and we weren't able to get them in. So that could be potentially on the 13th, and of course Mark will take it over. I don't have anything new besides that. We'll have 2 sets of minutes next time, probably.
We'll have to,
Okay.
yep. And we will have a preview of the town warrant. We're up to 22 articles at this point, and growing.
Busy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a,
That's already a pretty full agenda. We'll see what Mark thinks.
yeah.
Go ahead.
And when, just for a reminder, please, when do we need to vote on those warrant articles?
The warrant must be closed by September 20th.
Okay.
We are, we are putting in a placeholder, article, in the warrant, assuming that the RFP, that is out for purchase of property, comes back. The RFP opens on September 19th, so I will come to the select board meeting on the 20th with an update on that. Town council, will be here for it, but, hopefully the stars align with that process.
Alright, well, I'm glad you brought up, I forgot about, there's so much money coming in that we've never had coming in before. I forgot about that $1 million that they had sort of earmarked us. I don't know if that's exactly it, but they seemed very receptive, our 2 reps, when I pointed out that we actually had a respondent and it was right there. Okay, if that's it, we have no meetings to approve tonight, meeting minutes to approve tonight, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Karen, can I mention a few things?
Oh, I'm sorry, sure, Carla, these are future agenda items?
Yes.
Yep.
I just made some notes. Fidel addressed the RFP issue. Can we get just either in your memo or, a couple of sentences on just a water tank update?
Sure.
How that's going. And I put in a request and haven't heard back on an update on the restaurant that's supposed to open at the post office. What's going on there, that's been dormant for quite some time. And I know it's being discussed in the background, but I guess whether it's resolved or not, I think we should have a discussion at the next meeting or very soon about our arrangement and thought process of how we deal with Burbank YMCA going forward. And again, it's a broad thing I just mentioned, but that needs to be looked at. I know it's being looked at now, but it would be nice to get that resolved very, very quickly so we know where we stand.
So on that note, you were able to do some research and shared some written agreements. Have we shared that with the full select board yet?
We have not, no.
Okay.
Yeah. I will
Okay,
do that.
Fidel's done some research, so he could certainly get us all up to speed.
Okay.
On what was done back in the 90s. Yep, that's a good, yeah. Okay.
And I guess we should all plug Chris mentioned the Fall Street Fair. That's going to be another great event as normal, and hopefully a lot of people can show up early for the 9/11 celebration or remembrance. I should call it not celebration, remembrance. I think at 11:45 down by the depot, and we're planning a beer garden / Oktoberfest for October 22nd in the town common. And I'm sure there's some other events going on in the common that I'm not aware of. I know the fall is a busy time. I look forward to those and more utilization of the common.
Okay, so our 13th will be post Fall Street Fair, so we'll get an update in the liaison reports. Okay, great. Okay, can I entertain a motion now?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. No discussion is allowed. Okay, roll call vote. Carlo?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Karen, yes. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.